This morning, in the early hours, a terror attack. Far leftists were protesting ICE in Alameda, California, where the Coast Guard was housing several federal agents. They were protesting a deployment that was expected to hit the Bay Area, but Trump, after the intervention of many tech billionaires and political individuals, canceled this ICE raid. The protesters remained, and then at some point, and for some reason we don't yet know why, a U-Haul vehicle was driven by what appears to be a leftist extremist and then accelerated high speed in reverse towards law enforcement with weapons aimed, who then unloaded on this vehicle, shooting a bystander as well as the driver. Now, we don't know if the bystander was a protester involved or not, but we do have videos of all of this. It is absolutely insane. Now, if you think that one's crazy, Steve Bannon says Trump's going to get a third term. So I guess we'll see, and we'll read about what that's all about. There is a lot to break down today, of course. But before we do, we got a great sponsor for all of you. It is Perplexity.ai. They got a new browser, the Comet AI web browser. Let me ask you guys something. How much time do you spend every day on a web browser? How much time do you spend clicking around online, searching, scrolling, typing, endless tabs? It's a lot, right? Well, there's a new AI web browser from Perplexity called Comet that is completely changing the way you're able to interact with your browser. It allows you to do things like buying stuff instantly. You can order on DoorDash, food delivery, Domino's, Instacart, get personalized restaurant reservations. You can buy stuff on Amazon and get movie tickets, book a flight or a hotel. It can help you set up your day, can send messages or emails. That's crazy. Type in I sent an email to Auron MacIntyre. You can schedule meetings, search, respond, analyze, pull up anything like videos, tabs, or otherwise. Pretty cool, right? Download Perplexity's new AI web browser, Comet, by heading to pplx.ai/Timcast and let your browser work for you. Plus, right now, when you download Comet, you get a month of Rumble Premium for free. Man, how lucky are all of you? But also, we've got Beam Dream. I absolutely love Beam Dream. You know I do. I don't need no scripts. This stuff is so absolutely fantastic. I had the pumpkin spice yesterday. It is amazing. This is your nighttime blend to support better sleep. It's got melatonin, L-theanine, magnesium. It's got this mushroom stuff in it. I forgot what it's called, but it's delicious. This is the cinnamon cocoa. Tastes super good. I love the brownie batter. I love all of them, actually, to be honest. I got the caramel one's really good. Pumpkin spice last night. I started drinking this after a week of drinking it consistently is when you really hit those effects. I'm sleeping like an angel. I mean, it's perfect, like a rock. Well, whatever you think. Not like a baby that wake up all the time screaming. But I sleep perfectly. My sleep score has been consistently in the 90s with my trackers. And I didn't even realize my sleep could have improved before I was drinking this. So, Beam sponsors us. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. We got a script. I'll try it. It tastes great. And then after a week, I was like, I swear by this stuff. It's amazing. So go to shopbeam.com/Timcast and you will get up to 50% off. Guys, I really do recommend it. It's fantastic. Don't forget to also smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know right now. You can join our Discord server at timcast.com to get in the community and check out our VIP backstage recordings. We did this one earlier today. It was a lot of fun. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we have Auron MacIntyre.
Thanks for having me again.
Who are you? What do you do?
I host the Auron MacIntyre Show over at Blaze TV. We're on YouTube, Rumble, all those places. And, of course, I've also got my book, The Total State.
Right on. We also have a fun panel today. We got Chuck hanging out.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you guys doing? I'm the host of The Green Room. If you want to check that out, it's behind the paywall on Rumble Premium. So sign up. We released the George Santos video yesterday if you want to get a sneak peek of that.
Very cool. Kellen's hanging out.
Yeah, I think this is my first appearance on IRL. Usually behind the scenes. So.
But you've been on many times.
Sure. Yeah, as a panelist, I guess. I'm usually filling in for Serge when I have been on in the past. But hello, everybody. My name is Kellen. I work behind the scenes here at Timcast. We just wrapped an awesome culture war this morning. Brian Shapiro was sitting in the seat you were, Auron. And, he brought this energy that makes me really stoked for this culture war event we've got coming up.
Yeah. And I called him a retard. And he asked me to take it back.
That's true, dude.
He said, please film a video with me saying I'm not a retard.
Yeah. So make sure you guys check that out and get your tickets to the event coming up on November 8th.
That's right. What's up, guys? Tate Brown here, holding it down. I'm really excited about this. It's going to be a fun show. I love Auron, so this is going to be great. And, go watch the George Santos tapes released yesterday on The Green Room. There's a wild chat in there. I filled him in on a lot of, what he missed out in while he was in jail. And he didn't know Diane Keaton died.
Yeah, no, he just found that out.
So he found out, and
Did you cry?
It was pretty emotional. So go watch to see his emotions on full display.
And obviously, for everybody at this point, you understand why Phil's not here. He just had a baby. Congratulations to Phil Labonte, lead singer of All That Remains, anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. Shout out. We'll have you back when you're ready. But in the meantime, let's jump to the first story from Fox KTVU. Live updates: gunfire rings out at end of Bay Area immigration protest. Now, the funny thing is, when I first saw this video of dude, this video is nuts. Wait till you guys see it. We got updated video. ABC News just reported shots fired after vehicle driving erratically attempts to back into Coast Guard base. I believe ABC News intentionally obfuscated the truth about what really happened, because this was, from all available evidence, a leftist terror attack on a military installation. We've got this video here. Check it out. For those that are listening, the U-Haul's pulling forward. The person driving is pulling forward. They stop. Now they're going to accelerate backwards. And there's a ton of dudes with guns aimed, rifles. Listen to this. You hear the screaming? So when I first watched this video, there's a guy going, ah. I'm going to play that again. See if you can hear what he says, because I can hear what he's saying now.
I got hit, right?
I got hit. He said that. We got video of it. This is insane. It's not really graphic, but I'm not going to show the full video because he does display a gunshot wound. So for people don't know this, the gunshot wound, it's a small hole in his chest. There's no blood spilling everywhere. It's just a hole in his chest. So I'll just play the beginning where you can see it. I won't show the actual footage. You can see the U-Haul right here. It's about to back up.
Look at everybody running. Look at the doctor. Oh shit! Let me see.
I think it was rubber. Was it rubber? I don't fucking know. Hop in the car anyways. Let's find a.
Who they just got the knocking? Let me see.
So he then pulls his shirt up. I'm not going to show it, but someone asked him, "Is it rubber?"
Definitely not.
Bro, these LARPers need to. They do not get the game they're playing. Look. I'm going to jump back to this video. Look at these guys. These cops. They are not playing around. It looks like several of them have long guns and some with handguns. They were prepared to kill the person who accelerates at a high speed with a box truck towards them. And these people are LARPing, and after a dude gets shot, they go, "Is it rubber?" Do you see people with rubber bullets? These guys have guns at a military installation. They are playing live action role play, guys. I think it's getting crazy out there. This escalation's getting nuts. The left is going to react to this saying cops shot an innocent person. They're going to increase the rhetoric, and it's going to get crazy.
It's very clear this is what happens when you have a generation of revolutionaries who are raised on Marvel movies and Star Wars, right? Like, they've never seen real violence. It's all a video game to them. They've never met anybody who's been in combat, in law enforcement, in the military. They've probably never even shot a gun. These guys are just out there playing a video game, and when the inevitable consequences come, they're still just acting like it's a TV show. Oh, let me see. It'll be funny. There must be rubber bullets. No, man, when you drive a truck and attempt to run over armed men, they're going to shoot you with real bullets so they don't die. It's not a game anymore, but that's always the most dangerous people. People who don't understand what they're pushing into. They're pushing violence, but they don't get what's coming if they actually achieve what they want.
Yeah, well, that's what you see like at a lot of these riots, especially. There's literally hired photographers, but not from the press. It's to like distribute, high quality photographs for people's Instagrams, because like at the end of the day, they just see this, like you said, as some sort of Marvel movie or something like that. And yeah, they're totally detached from the reality of like, no, you're dealing with federal law enforcement. Yeah, they're not going to hesitate. If you're driving a box truck at them, they're going to let it fly.
Part of me hopes these leftists are going to be like, I'm not going to this ever again. I don't want to die. But I fear that we're actually going to see, considering how extreme things have gotten, is they're going to now use this to recruit. Far leftists are going to go to colleges and they're going to show the person going, I got hit. And they're going to be like, look, they shot a random innocent person.
This is what they're doing with the costumes in Portland and now in Chicago with the big inflatable costumes. It's like, look, we're having a good time. We're silly. We're dancing. We're not these violent extremists. And then Cam Higbee actually got it on video yesterday. They have a clothing rack, this Antifa like encampment. They have a clothing rack of all these inflatable suits. So it's planned. They're like, hey, we're going to pass these out. It's going to make it seem silly. Then the media can't, slander us.
In my younger years, I dressed up like a giant ice cream cone man in one of these suits. I had a friend who was a manager at a Dairy Queen, and it was in downtown Chicago, and I'd go and hang out there when I was downtown and just bored and get free ice cream. Let's go. And then she was complaining that nobody would, she was like, someone's supposed to dress up like the ice cream man and go out and dance around and hand out these coupons, but nobody will do it. And I was like, what? Why not? She's like, they're embarrassed. And I was like, are you kidding? I will do it right now. And she's like, you want to do it? I'm like, do you mean I get to be the ice cream cone? And so you put on the suit and there's a box in it. You turn it on and it blows air. It's got a tube that goes at the back. So it pulls air and it inflates itself. You are walking in an inflated tent. Now, I'm being a bit silly. This is true. I did dance around Chicago outside of the Thompson Center. It's gone now. The point I'm bringing up is that these people could have weapons and you can't see it because the suit's inflated and your arm could be inside. You don't need to put it through. So the whole thing's like a balloon and you could pull your arms in like this and do it. You could play video games and it's air conditioned. It's kind of nice, but they could have weapons and the cops can't see this. So it is particularly, what's the right word? Insidious, perhaps, is a word that may describe this. My fear is that as this escalation continues, they're going to hold weapons inside of these things to hide them because you can't see the outline of the body. And then when the person on camera is in the frog costume dancing and the cops are seen taking him down, the left will use it as propaganda. Oh, they're attacking the innocent people who are just dancing. Of course, we are paying attention. We'll see them rip the suit open and pull a gun out or something. But the left is going to use these tactics because they're playing a manipulation game and it works. I'll just give a shout out to the Culture War episode earlier, where I asked our friend Brian Shapiro a million times, what was Trump charged with? And he didn't know. He just said he was convicted on 34 counts. And I'm like, of what? And he's like, he had no answer. And I'm like, this is what divides left and the right. You're saying the government said it was true, therefore it is. I'm saying I want to see the proof. Tell me what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, you even saw, to your previous point with the inflatable costumes, I think it was in Portland where there was the video of DHS or someone, they were spraying mace into the air intake of the costume. Which is hilarious. Very base. We love to see that. But on a serious note, from a security concern, that was what was cited by a lot of people online, is they're saying, yeah, as soon as you pull your hands in, the arms will stay inflated, and then you could be doing who knows what in there.
Well, you have a knife?
Anything.
Gooning? Who knows? Who knows? I don't want to know what's going on.
I mean, with that crowd, yeah, probably.
Probably.
Almost 100%.
Yeah.
Naked bike ride.
There's a frog, and all you see is the front of it going like this. You're like, uh-oh, what's going on in there?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to know. You know what, DHS? Leave them secured. Let's just
let them have fun.
Yeah, but this really makes it like the Baudrillard's hyper-reality of revolution, right? You have this very strange, abstract version of this where people are dancing around in costumes and no one knows what's real. And if somebody gets shot, it's probably just a joke or something. No one even knows how to take the revolution seriously. And but this also obscures the real danger, because the only reason that things have not gotten worse is that the left is so bad at this, right? They're so stupid. We have multiple people who were captured by ICE who get shot instead of ICE agents because the guy doesn't know how to shoot when he's trying to assassinate ICE agents. We have failed bombings. We have failed assaults. We have a failed attempt to run a blockade here. It's only because these guys are so bad at their job that we don't have multiple dead agents.
What was it called?
Baudrillard, hyperreality.
Baudrillard's hyperreality?
Yeah. Jean Baudrillard's a French philosopher.
I'm just sitting here being like, the IQ jumped 40 points because a moment ago he's like, that guy could be gooning in there. You're like, just like Baudrillard's hyperreality.
I mean, to be fair, Baudrillard would probably make that reference, but yes.
I'm a listener of his show, and then he starts saying, and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I can't even work a Coke freestyle machine. And then he's like, drop.
Well, that's embarrassing.
It's pretty bad. I tried to find the diet option, and I just kind of shut down.
You know what needs to happen? See, the right isn't subversive enough. Conservatives need to buy a bunch of these costumes, join the protest, and then literally just start slapping the belly of the thing so it looks like they're gooning. Because then people are going to be like, all of these leftists shut up in front of the ICE facility and are just gooning in these weird costumes. They'll stop wearing them.
Yeah. There's something to be said about that point. Following World War II, the Japanese, I think it was the Minister of Culture, Ministry of Tourism, they commissioned like anime, like Hello Kitty and these sorts of things because they wanted to like soften their image to the world. Because at the time in 1948, you ask someone what they think about Japan, they'd be like, oh, they're like committing seppuku and flying planes around in the so they had to like soften their image. And then this is what the left is trying to do. But the problem is like you have a frog standing right next to a U-Haul truck flying in reverse. This doesn't really work.
This is the sad reality of Japan. The culture that they've largely built in their media is all just the most brutal stuff. Mm-hmm. So, like, what do we watch? Simpsons. Homer's a moron. We had Married with Children. Bundy's a moron. You get King of Queens. I don't know the guy's name. I don't know.
Doug Heffernan.
There you go. Yeah. A moron.
Doug and
in
Carey.
Japan, I understand we have superheroes too. We have Superman. But we put those shows on for kids in the morning. And then we put the morons on at night. And it's sad what's happening in Japan because Japan, they actually have Goku. Like, you go to some of these names, I can't remember which area it is, but there's a gigantic cutout of Goku. And for those that don't know who he is, it's Dragon Ball Z. The whole saga of Dragon Ball Z is basically beating each other up, fighting, war, people dying. And that's their culture. This is wild. They have shows that are not about, that are about like kids in high school, and they're all fighting each other and doing martial arts. It's just like their high school drama. There's like people fighting each other. And I'm like, people in Japan are just real brutal, but now they're getting stomped on.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
no babies.
A lot of it was Dave Chappelle had a famous bit where he was like, we bombed the masculinity of Japan. We dropped 2 nukes and they started drawing Hello Kitty and stuff. And then a lot of anthropologists were like, he didn't know this, but that's obviously true. That is what happened is, to an extent, the masculinity was bombed out of them, and they started drawing. And so you kind of have the same thing in the United States, where people are getting a little soft, and that's what the left is trying to do here is reframe this. But the problem, like I said earlier, is like it's really hard to pull that off when there's like a riot happening next to you, and it's like clear they're in the same movement.
I gotta say, I think Japan historically had like the highest tea culture.
Mishima, yeah.
And I know people are gonna be like, I don't know, man, the Europeans are pretty base, but like, yes. The Europeans had more landmass, I think. Japan was on this island, but the Japanese people were like, they would commit suicide if they dishonored their family. Mm-hmm. They are probably the gooningest culture of any culture I've ever seen in my life. Have you guys ever been to Japan? You been?
I have not.
They have masturbation like fast food chains, basically.
Wait, what?
So they have a chain of businesses where you can go in to, as the children say, goon.
Right.
Or the young men say.
All right.
You go in and dude, it's the creepiest thing. It's just,
I would imagine.
It's already creepy to begin with.
Right.
So I'm in Japan. I'm like, we have to go.
Well, yeah.
And we walk in. No, are you kidding?
Do you have
Check
to
it out. You have
I did not say service the business.
On the ground at the goon station in Japan.
Klaus Schwab, you will goon.
We did a
When
mini
in
doc.
Japan, do as the Japanese, right?
We did a mini doc on the 5-story tall sex store.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like famous in Japan. And then they have these buildings everywhere. And I said, what is that? And they're like, our Japanese tourists are like, oh, so where you go to, And I'm like, no, I don't know. And they're like, masturbate or master, I don't know how they said. Masolate, they can't say ours. And then I'm not being mean, they can't. And we go in and like, there's a bunch of stuff in like plastic, there's like plastic cubbies. There were towels that were stained. And you were supposed to use them. And there were TVs of people in the room gooning because they wanted you to watch them. And you could buy dirty underwear, porn, and like you'd go into a room and you had the choice of being watched by other people or not. And I'm like, this is disgusting.
You just described La Quinta. That's what a La Quinta is, You just go there, you cheat on your wife, you get in a bar fight. Like, it's kind of fundamentally the same
Isn't
thing.
this what Zoran wants for New York City, though? Like, he wants these
stations in New York City.
These 5-story tall. Because, but in all seriousness, he does want to legalize prostitution.
Right.
And that it's just more incentive to get, those.
I'd respect it if he was honest about it.
His animal instincts, like that. Japan, they're not having kids because everyone's already satisfied.
Could you imagine if Zoran at the debate was just like, well, I just got to say, we want a goon station, and we're going to build them.
What's the big idea?
Curtis Lee would be like, I got shot outside a goon station.
In 1985, 3 guys were gooning in front of me. When I yelled at them, they shot me.
I will say the
I want him to win
video.
now. I hope Sliwa wins.
The video in the U-Haul truck with the journalists, LARPers, all standing in front. It reminds me of the Civil War movie and like experiences you've talked about, Tim, where these people like think it's a game. It doesn't click. Like the gravity of the situation doesn't click in their heads, and that's why people were shot. Because like you look at the video and they're standing right in front of guns.
Well, to be fair, in that second video where the guy got shot, you can't actually see the officers.
Okay,
So you're a block away. But these guys had rifles. It looks like some of these law enforcement guys are holding long guns, which means that bullet is flying.
Well, it was a Coast Guard base, right? So that was the security checkpoint.
Can we just, guys? It appears, okay, and I don't think anybody disagrees. Leftists just tried to attack a Coast Guard base. Yeah. Is this where people go, whoa, the left has gone crazy, let's stop? Unfortunately, I don't think so.
Well, I've made this point before to a lot, so Timcast viewers are probably annoyed at this point. But there is something fundamentally about ICE that animates the left, these leftist, political agitators. Something about ICE specifically animates them, and I like to ask guests kind of if we can drill down on what that is. From my perspective, it's just because fundamentally ICE kind of is the bastion of defending America's borders and defending the American nation at large, and they have such self-hatred for themselves as Americans, specifically like the white liberals in Portland, that's what animates them so much. Because Trump's doing a lot of things. What HHS is doing is great, and it's very it's bold and whatnot. And in theory, they should be really upset about that. When's the last time you saw like FHHS graffiti? I
want to talk to you, Auron, about this. I was debating Grok AI, as one does, the other day. And it was the issue of Zoran Mamdani wants to close Rikers, release all the prisoners. And he says it's because Rikers is an affront to the city. It's terrible. He wants new police stations built. But let's be real. The utopian vision of what the left wants to do isn't actually what they're planning on doing. It's going to be, we're going to release a lot of these criminals. He said crime is a social construct. He says a lot of these people can have deferred programs. Will Chamberlain responded, Trump should federalize New York and take over, put it under federal management before that can happen. Wall Street Mav asked Grok if he could, and Grok said, no, Trump can't, which is stupid because Trump can. And I then got into this debate with the AI, not because I'm like, ooh, I'm going to argue with AI. I wanted the AI to lay out the case of the corporate press mainstream narrative as to why Trump can't use the authority he legally can. And where we ended up was Grok was saying, Trump doesn't have the authority to do it. My response is Abraham Lincoln did. Grok says Abraham Lincoln was fighting a legitimate civil war, which is fascinatingly stupid and incorrect. Abraham Lincoln, after Fort Sumter, suspended habeas corpus from Pennsylvania to D.C. along the rail corridor to protect Union troops from potential sabotage. He had members of the Maryland legislature arrested. This is April of 1861. It was months before the first Battle of Bull Run. No one believed a civil war was possible. Nobody believed it was even happening. In fact, the first use of the term civil war wasn't until 1863. So what would happen? So the way I look at it right now is we very well may be in a civil war if we're following the same context of 1861. That is, Donald Trump is trying to enforce the law. He is sending troops from other states into these blue states. They're resisting. Saboteurs are committing terror attacks against federal law enforcement. If Trump were to suspend habeas corpus, which has already been floated by Trump and Miller, it would be within perfect precedent of what presidents have done before. Do you think I'm missing the mark on this one? Or how do you see what's going on?
I mean, look, as a proud son of the South, I'm just glad that everyone's suddenly realizing that Abraham Lincoln was a tyrant. I mean, that's all. That's all I really ask. But no, it is funny to watch all these Democrats suddenly turn into John C. Calhoun. They recognize, states' rights and limiting the federal government. Like, look, you guys have been behind this the whole time. Of course, very pro-Lincoln, reconstructing the South. But it's not just that. We've had Eisenhower and JFK send troops into the South to enforce different court rulings when it came to segregation. These things we've deployed troops into American cities so many times over. When Pat Buchanan gave his speech about the culture war speech about the National Guard taking back LA block by block. So the idea that this is wildly unprecedented is just completely incorrect. And the only answer is ultimately, does the Republican Party have the will to get this done? Would Trump be able to take those slings and arrows? I think overall, when we look at what happened in D.C., the population was happy to be safer. I think the same would probably be true of New York. But the problem is that these people have their safety tied up with all the other voting that they do. They want the benefits. They have all these perceived, carve-outs that they think they're going to get by rejecting Republicans. And so they vote in people who are going to destroy their law and order to get all that other stuff.
Earlier today, we were on the Culture War podcast debating Brian Shapiro, largely me debating him, over these issues. And one point that I made, because I think Austin was saying that we should have more, I don't think he said balkanization, but people going into areas where they prefer the laws. And I said, that's going to lead to civil war. Brian agreed. My point was, You have the United States as a largely monoculture 30 years ago, and the Democrats and the Republicans almost completely agreed on everything. They disagreed on the wedge issues. And so when you look at the Pew charts, you can see it's like two bell curves and they largely overlap. What ends up happening is that because of Democrat and Republican entrenchment in these areas where it's like R plus 30 or D plus 30, and it's actually, I would say it's more a Democrat phenomenon because Republicans don't control cities. They don't control large urban centers. This means conservative-minded individuals are going to leave these cities as the policies tend towards further to the left, which the conservatives don't like. It's exponentially increasing. So what happens now is in New York, 500,000 people left in 2020, largely conservative-minded people who live in New York. That makes it substantially easier for the left to win in New York. There's no opposition anymore. No politician needs to pander to those conservative people. What ends up happening? The United States as a whole largely agreed. There were red states and blue states, swing states, and wedge issues. But now each state is hyperpolarized. So what happens is where Oregon, you used to have to argue to the conservatives and find the middle ground. With all conservatives leaving, Oregon is now liberal to far left, and the government's going to end up in the staunch leftist position. Conservative states are now going to be moderate conservative to far right and find the staunch conservative position, meaning that each individual state will increasingly become further and further left or right. I actually don't think it's entirely true of the right, because the right is much more morally founded, and I think it's because of religious tradition. But the left is going to go further and further left because they're power and cult-based. You're eventually going to come to a point where the red states will vote for a president like we are now. The president's going to say no more illegal immigration. And the blue states will have gone so far left that every person there and everyone in their government is going to say no to this law. I think that's maybe what's happening now. And I feel like it's an inevitable reality where the factions will be born. You will have civil war.
So we're actually going through a predictable cycle that we've been through before historically. We think of the United States as having this monoculture, but it really didn't for most of its history. That's why federalism worked so well, right? We had these radically different people in these different states. They recognized themselves as Americans. They were distinct from other peoples, but the states were very important. That's why, for instance, somebody like Robert E. Lee, who was one of the most loyal Americans in the world, who was considered to be the top commander and was going to be given control of the Union Army, that's why he went with Virginia, not because he was disloyal to the United States, but he felt his loyalty to his home state more than he felt loyalty to the larger country. And then we see Lincoln come through. You have the Civil War. We have to kind of reunite again. And so you have reconstruction to try to force cultural homogeny back onto the South. Well, that goes for a while. We start to have our differences again. That builds up until World War II. And then after World War II, we have this grand unifying push under FDR. Communication, culture, education, they all get standardized. We get forced back into a monoculture, especially with the rise of radio and television, where now everyone can watch the same things and hear the same things and share the same experiences. But now we're coming back apart again. And so I don't think this is like some strange thing that we're experiencing, but it's just a cycle that we go through over and over again. And you're either going to have that strong unifying presidency that kind of brings the culture back together, or things are going to keep breaking apart more and more.
Does this, the way you describe it with these states having their identities, it sounds kind of like that could prevent civil war.
Well, it can't. It really depends on how much the central government demands that everyone conform to the same way of life, right? The more that the central government demands that we have one unified culture, one unified understanding, the more likely that you're going to have states that have a strong individual identity push back. But if you allow a good degree of autonomy, again, how we did under federalism, then you're probably less likely to have a civil war in that scenario. The problem is that the temptation more and more, especially as we've invested more and more power in our centralized government, is to continue to force that monoculture onto different states.
You think there's going to be a civil war?
I think that we are playing with fire. I don't know that we're going to get a civil war. We've had situations where we deployed troops to the South and we didn't get a civil war out of it. But at the same time, I think we are further in some ways apart than we were, say, in the 1950s.
I've said this before that it really depends on what comes next. But should this become factionalized war, history will argue that the Civil War started sometime well before now.
Yep, that's right.
The Hill published an op-ed saying that the assassination of Charlie Kirk might be our Fort Sumter moment. And so the difference with the 1861 versus the Civil Rights era versus now, there were catalysts. 1861, we had Bleeding Kansas, John Brown's raid, and then you had Fort Sumter. The Civil Rights era didn't have any shot heard around the world battle moment or anything egregious. We actually have several points in the past year or so. The assassination attempt on Donald Trump, it may have started then. I actually think the assassination of Charlie Kirk will likely be considered the Fort Sumter moment, and it's possible in 100 years, they say, the Second American Civil War started with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Much like we hear the story of Franz Ferdinand, most people don't really know the full details of what happened. The story's actually pretty crazy. Yeah. The assassins they lost him. And
it's a comedy of errors. They end up finding him at they walk out of a cafe shop after thinking the entire thing has failed, and he's right outside, and that's the only reason they actually are successful.
And then they start a world war.
Yeah.
My question is, what could possibly, the trend I think is obvious. We always say there is no off ramp. The trend is political violence is becoming more common, more accepted. People are becoming unhinged. I don't see that slowing down. We're in a spiral. So what kind of event or what would have to happen to prevent us from continuing down this path?
That's why I don't think it's possible. All right. So we were hoping with a popular victory of Donald Trump, I was like, that's going to send the message that we are the moral majority and we've won. Instead, the response is, I don't care if we're the minority, we're going to kill you. And so you end up with the people voted for Trump, for the Republicans. The Republicans have everything. They've got the majority in the House and the Senate. They've got it in the Supreme Court. They've got the executive branch. And now ICE is enforcing laws that have been on the books for decades. What are the Democrats doing? Fighting.
Freaking out.
Double down.
Fighting. War. Terror. Democrats are obstructing in the administrative level, having their police target federal law enforcement. Their judges are trying to bar Donald Trump's from enacting his authorities of the Constitution. And then you have the ground level leftists who are engaging in acts of terrorism and trying to murder cops or ram them with vehicles. There have been 4 rammings already and 6 instances where vehicles have been used as weapons.
I think there's more than that. There's a lot of stories that of agents getting boxed in, but there's no actual assault or violence, so it doesn't get reported.
Right.
So I think it's happening way more, especially in Chicago.
When LA County declared a state of emergency over federal law enforcement, I was like, guys, this is the sign. A popular vote winner with every branch of government said, we're going to enforce the law that have been on the books for decades. And in California, they said it's an emergency. They're telling you they're at war with you. Now, that doesn't mean there's going to be a shootout, but based on that video we saw from earlier in the morning, Lord help us.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have this irony poisoning, right? Again, the fact that this is a Marvel movie for everybody, this is fake for everybody, and that allows you to creep way closer to the line than you would if you actually recognize the type of violence that you're entering into. And this really sets us up for a scenario where we could have just zombie walked into the Civil War without even recognizing it, because you have so many people who are acting as if none of this is serious and none of it can be taken seriously. And that's part of course, the left's tactic. Again, putting people in these clown suits, putting them in these blow-up suits, making sure that you throw all this funny stuff out there. You put that out front as if it's non-threatening, it's not going to be a big issue, and then you don't realize that you've already crossed several red lines in the whole process.
Yep. That's why, as I mentioned, I was debating our friend Grok. And it kept making these arguments as to why Trump can't use federal authority in these states, despite the fact precedent already shows us that Lincoln did. The argument is Lincoln had no authority under the Constitution to suspend habeas corpus. Only Congress can do it, but he did anyway. And then Congress retroactively approved it, creating the precedent that a president can suspend habeas corpus and then seek approval after the fact, which is nuts. Based on the timeline, if we look at the Charlie Kirk assassination as a Fort Sumter moment, it's only been a month. And the Battle of Bull Run was, I think, 3 months after Sumter. Theoretically, we could be zombie walking towards the first. I've described it as just an example, not like something that's going to happen, but the first Battle of Chicago. Because Chicago seems to be where the heat of everything is really taking place. If the gangs get into a shootout with federal law enforcement and leftist extremists, not caring why, decide to join and help them for some reason, we will have a moment that we may not actually describe as the first Battle of Chicago, but historically they will. We'll just say a shootout erupted in Chicago. A couple of years after the fact, we might say, here's what they're calling it. Just like they didn't say Civil War for 2 years after Fort Sumter.
I mean, look at COVID.
Yeah.
Look how long it took to be like, hey, this is like a pandemic now. Like, this is a global, no one wanted to believe it at first. We're like, what's going on in China? They're building those emergency hospitals. It's not going to happen here. And then it was like 2 weeks. And we're like, oh, so no, that stuff about in China, all that news, that was like the warning. Like, you know.
Well, and this is why it was so important, and I kept pushing, like, right after Charlie was shot, like, we have to take drastic action now, like, right away. Because the thing that always allows things to escalate is not too much action, too much authority. It's a lack thereof. And whenever you hesitate, you're encouraging this. So by stepping in and taking small actions, you're actually making things worse. It's easier to do more than it is to do less incrementally. That's counterintuitive, but it's absolutely the case, especially when you have control of the executive. You need to take bold action, sweeping action, put this down immediately and cut it off right at the source rather than sitting around and playing footsie with it.
That's what they're doing.
Yep.
That's what I've been saying. Like, Trump needs to send in the troops now and put these jurisdictions under a federal management and declare an insurrection and an emergency. And Trump can come out. And, you know, I don't know, but he's playing footsie. And maybe they're waiting for winter. I'm being optimistic when I say that. Really, I don't know. One of the arguments is that there won't be riots if it gets cold out. And so the Fed is waiting a few months for the temperature to drop. So that in places like Chicago, particularly, in Portland a little bit, but Chicago more so, when they take action, the left will not react. New York and Chicago are principal targets. LA is always going to be nice out, so that's hard to deal with. But now is the time to do it. And I think you're right. If the federal government allows this insurrection and this sedition, it will embolden and keep growing. If Trump moves in now and people are like, okay, we're going to stop, the fact that Trump is taking it slow is allowing the left to organize and develop, once again, parallel economics. Yeah. And that's when they finally say, we can fight you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why this entire crackdown that we've been pushing for has never really been about punishment. I mean, to a certain degree, for some people, I suppose, is a form of vengeance. But the primary objective, like you're saying, is incapacitation. We're trying to incapacitate the enemy. The same thing like when a child is bashing his toy truck on a glass table. You know, when you take him away and take his toy away, you're not punishing him. You're just trying to get him to not break the table. And that is, you know, the mandate for the federal government in this instance. Is like, hey, they're about to break this table. Pull them away. Enough. You got to incapacitate.
Let's jump to the story from Newsweek. Steve Bannon says, quote, there's a plan for Trump 2028. What is that plan? Trump Jr. 2028? Because I'm not buying it. But this is what Bannon is saying. Quote, he's going to get a third term. So Trump is going to be president in 2028, and people just ought to get accommodated with that. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we've got in 28. They say that Trump is not eligible for another term under the 22nd Amendment of the United States Constitution. Presidents are limited to 2 elected terms. Now, you see the mistake they just made. And, you know, we can try. Let me pull up the 22nd Amendment. Try and guess what the play may be. But we got it right here, and I'll throw it in. Section 1, 22nd Amendment. No person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. Can anybody in the room answer for me what the key word is that they will try to utilize to get Trump a third term?
I believe it may be elected.
Correct.
Yay.
If Trump is placed by a judicial appointment into the office of the presidency due to some unforeseen circumstance, it will not be in violation of the 22nd Amendment.
Well, maybe that's the delay for all this action we were just talking about in the last segment is, hey, this is the year 1 of Trump's second term. So if there's plays like that in the background, they may need to wait for all this action. I mean, if create a faux crisis and then say, hey, he's back again.
But do we really think... I don't know if that's Bannon's play. What do you think? The play is going to be appointment?
I would really doubt that they would simply allow the situation to escalate just to set something like this up, set up that emergency. I mean, ultimately, if it's an amendment, you're just as likely to be able to repeal it as anything else. You repealed, prohibition. You could repeal this too, ultimately.
But the words are relatively meaningless. It's an exercise of power. So the fact is, if Trump wants to be president, we understand the spirit is that he can't be, but it does say elected. So it sounds like if the elected route is the route they go, there's an emergency. Trump declares an emergency under National Security Presidential Directive 51. Are you familiar?
Not
created by Bush. The president has the authority under executive orders to overwrite the U.S. government with an enduring constitutional government, it's called, a single branch that controls everything and appoints a national continuity coordinator. The play may be an emergency. Here's the deal, man. There's a bunch of different plays that could happen. Trump invokes the Insurrection Act. says we are in an active civil war. And for that reason, Trump doesn't get elected at all. He stays president because there's no election in a time of war. Now, even the U.S., the Union had an election during the Civil War. But there's a bunch of plays Trump could make in terms of emergencies that avoid elected presidents.
I'm wondering if like Bannon actually consulted the Trump administration on this, because I mean, like, I don't know if there's really an appetite, because JD Vance is a shoo-in at this point, quite frankly, if things hold, and he would probably carry over most of the staffing, if not the overwhelming majority of the staffing. So, like, I mean, obviously Trump would have to make the final decision here, but at least within the Trump administration, I assume they're like, a Vance term would just sort of be a continuation of Trump's policy. So why would this even be necessary?
Have you guys seen the meme, you can just do things?
Yeah. It's true.
What is stopping me from taking this Wolf box? Let me kind of detach this. There we go. This is a fan. What's to stop me from just chucking it as hard as I can at Tate?
Nothing really.
Nothing really.
The cameras.
Laws?
Laws. Yeah.
Social decorum? Like, the reality is, within the realm of physics, I could do it. But we know that man has written things down saying, do not do this. So there is a presumption that should I do something like that, well, Tate would probably tackle me and then maybe we get into a fight, or I don't know. I actually don't know what he would do if I whipped something at him
Probably
like that.
just take
Fun
it.
content.
Probably just cry.
The point is, there are reasons why we don't do these things because, one, I mean, we have empathy. We care about each other. We don't want to hurt each other. Some people don't. But we also fear the laws of man. But the reality is those laws won't actually stop a person from doing it. So we wrote down in the Constitution, Trump can't be president. The question is someone willing to exercise the power to just do what they want? And Bannon is saying, yes, we have. We don't care what's written down. If we choose it doesn't apply to us, it doesn't.
Well, I'll now invoke who shall not be named. Carl Schmitt, of course, talked. I know. We're all woke here now. But he talked about the sovereign is he who decides on the exception. His entire point in saying that is
Absolutely.
that any given constitution is only an outline for how the system should be going. It can never define every instance that the system will run into. And by definition, anything the Constitution didn't plan for has to be an exception to that system. And when you hit those exceptions, the only question is who's in charge, who's sovereign. And the sovereign is he who can decide this is an exception. Lincoln says it's an exception. We got to take back the South. And so the Constitution doesn't matter anymore. Habeas corpus doesn't matter anymore. I can disrupt elections. I can throw journalists in jail because guess
Supreme
what?
Court justices.
It turns out that he was sovereign and he had the power to decide on the exception. And this is important to understand what a constitution ultimately is. Constitutions don't stop anything ever. It's some words written on paper. A constitution is what the people collectively believe. And so if the people collectively believe that Trump can't have a third term, then he won't have a third term. But if the people no longer care, if they've lost their faith in those kind of things, if that tradition no longer holds, then the words on paper don't stop anything. And we've seen the left, really just base their entire movement on this idea that they can just say, I don't care what the Constitution only says, as long as the people aren't going to enforce it, it doesn't matter anymore.
What do you think would happen if it's the year 2020, it's 2026, it is 3 days before the election, and 26 polling stations in swing districts are bombed by Antifa-aligned individuals, like people with Antifa flags are seen running from the scene. They blow them all up. What do you think would happen?
I mean, again, sadly, I don't think this is exactly outside of the realm of possibility. And in that case, there's zero doubt that Trump would have to step in and use military force to return order. There's simply no other
People would
option.
demand it. Trump aside.
Now let's try this.
And they should, by the way. And they
What would happen if in 2028, Donald Trump in office, not running for office, J.D. Vance is running, and Trump is praising him and saying, hey, he's fantastic, and the polls are doing really well. And then early voting begins in these areas. There's questions about whether or not these places like maybe Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, they're leaning red. And then we get several dozen bombings at polling stations in areas that are Republican leaning in these states where you need those votes. They're decimated. The ballots are destroyed. Maybe 10,000 in each location, 1,000 in each location. Antifa culprits are caught on camera. One guy gets arrested. He's a known far leftist. What happens then?
Sounds like they're trying to insurrect.
Sounds like Trump would say, my fellow Americans, in swing states, largely which will determine which candidate is going to win, Republican voting districts were just bombed. Several injured, several killed. We have arrested several people. We have provided evidence. It was an attack by left extremists to stop the Republicans from being able to win, this election is now void. How can you then carry on the election knowing that key areas of swing states were bombed? There's a million and one ways it could go down, but it's like you said, he who is sovereign is he who,
decides on the exception.
Exactly. Trump says, how would it be fair to conclude this election knowing that far-left radicals destroyed the votes of countless numbers of Republicans in states where they wanted their voice heard? If their voice is not heard, then the president is not chosen. He can then say, I firmly believe, even with this attack, J.D. Vance would be the winner. But because of those attacks, we won't know. Therefore, we will hold a new election, and we will need another 6 months to prepare. This election will take place in August of next year. Something like that. I think it's far-fetched to be honest. I'm saying this because there are a million and one ways Trump may be president in 2028. We can hypothesize, and I agree with you when you said it's not out of the realm of possibility that leftists will bomb polling stations or something to that effect, or even trucks carrying ballots.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the phrase meme magic? We all know.
Of course.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, meme magic.
So we say that as a joke, but actually it's very real, right? Like these things kind of will themselves into existence. So Trump is sitting there and the left is saying, no kings, right? No king. We have to have this no king protest. And then all of Trump's supporters say, well, you know what? Maybe he is a king. Maybe that's cool, right? We start putting out about videos of him with a king, and it's all jokes and it's all fun. Until suddenly the left starts treating him like, oh, well, no, we have to fight him like he's a king. And then the right says, oh, we have to defend him like he's a king. And actually, if he's the king, then he has the powers of it. And before you recognize this, like that hyperstition has taken place, right? Yeah. Retroactively, you have moved yourself into a frame where whether it's true or not, whether anyone even wanted Trump as king or not, every side has acted as if he is king. Yeah. And therefore, he is, right?
I'm gonna start walking around DC.
This is incorrect. He's God Emperor.
That's true. I'm gonna start walking around with like a no Caesar sign, see if I can start a movement and become an American Caesar. That'd be kind of nice. I would sure hate if Barron became the American Caesar. That would suck.
Sic Semper Tyrannis just walking around.
Have you seen the DHS Aurifarm edits they've been putting out of ICE and DHS agents just cracking down on the far left protests? And it's crazy because they got music and there's the flashing lights. It's an awesome edit, but people are cheering for this. Like, it's not just like, hey, yeah, cool, they're upholding the law. They're like, yes, more of this, And so people are calling for, and that's what's so tragic to me about what the left has done in general, is now you've got people on the right that are just like, yeah, I don't care anymore. I want my family to stay safe. I don't want to die. So yeah, let's have troops in every major city.
Well, this energy is all across the West, because I mean, fundamentally, what's driven Trump to this point is that he's tapping into the frustration of immigration, like broadly speaking. And this has been all across the West. We've been covering the Ireland riots and that sort of thing. And Ireland is a great example of what happens when you don't even have a right-wing party to siphon that energy off of. Where in the United States, we have the Trump administration that is fulfilling the mandate. But yeah, you still got to give them some red meat. You got to give them the edits. You got to give them this, that, and the other. But the left should really understand that Trump is what's keeping a lid on this. Like, Ireland is what things could escalate into if it weren't for Trump sort of carrying out that mandate. And then on the flip side, I could very well see them, bombing ballot boxes, these sorts of things, because the reason we're seeing this leftist violence in the first place is because Trump is so effective. He has been winning, and they feel demoralized. They feel backed into a corner, and that's why they're lashing out, because they feel like that the right, A, has a monopoly on power at this stage, which in many ways we do, but B, they just feel backed into a corner. They feel like their avenues to power are completely cut off, and so that's why they feel like they need to lash out in these ways.
And it's not just the terror attacks and the violence that we're seeing in the cities. Like, that's definitely could be a cause for Trump 2028. But so as we've been recording, the news broke that Hakeem Jeffries has endorsed Zohran Mamdani. So you basically have the Democrats as a whole now saying, yeah, this communist thing, we're on board with it. Mm-hmm. So Trump could just be like, hey, there is no Democrat Party anymore. It's communism. Their votes do not count. Yeah. Like, we're not playing this. We fought communism. We're not going there.
I don't think he would do that. Stephen Miller's too smart. I think if Trump wants to go this route, false flag attack. I'm not. It's funny because people have asked me, like, you really think Trump would do a false flag? I'm like, I don't know, maybe not Trump, but certainly someone around him. Come on, we're talking about winning a war, and they tried to put this man in prison. They arrested his lawyers. Nothing's off the table. Winning is winning. And if you are, to be fair, I'll put it like this. Conservatives have continually showed themselves to be the samurai, the people who have tried to fight with honor. So that's why I really don't think we'll see a Trump administration false flag attack, but I also wouldn't put it past anybody to do whatever it took to win. If the left doesn't engage in these acts of violence or terror and Trump really does want to be president for a third term, how hard would it be? Right now, they put out another bounty on the pipe bombers from J6.
See the new.
I think it's fairly obvious the pipe bombers were Democrat-aligned individuals trying to malign Trump.
Do you see the new videos that they released? Of the
Yeah.
pipe bomber?
Maybe we should actually pull that one up.
Yeah, and it's crazy. A lot of people are. Go ahead.
Let's pull the story from Zero FBI. Actually, let me zoom out so we can see the actual story. FBI releases new surveillance video of January 6th pipe bomb suspect. The FBI on October 22nd released new surveillance footage showing footage that says it shows a person placing pipe bombs the night before January 6th. The video is this the video right here?
On January 5th, 2021, between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m., an unidentified individual placed pipe bombs near the offices of the Democratic National Committee and the Republican National Committee in Washington, D.C. The FBI and our partners are renewing our call for tips from the public to help us identify the suspect. A reward of up to $500,000 is available for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the individual responsible for this attempted attack. If you have any information, please call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. You can also submit tips online at tips.fbi.gov.
I don't know why it's 8 minutes.
Turf shoes,
Here we go.
which are black and gray with the yellow Nike logo. Fewer than 25,000 of these shoes were sold between August 2018
So it's like a
and January 2021.
Sneakerhead.
The first time the suspect is seen is at approximately 7:34 p.m. at the intersection of 1st Street and North Carolina Avenue Southeast.
Okay, I don't want to play the full thing, but
The shoe thing.
does anybody here think the person was not a Fed? No hands? Maybe not Fed, but I firmly believe this was some kind of agent operative. This was not some random leftist terrorist or individual. Like, this was coordinated intentionally, specifically pertaining to the January 6th riots. Guys, what is the probability that J6 was fomented intentionally to try and destroy Donald Trump? I think it's very likely.
It could have been a foreign power. I mean, that's why, because I see that stat where there's only 25,000 pairs of these shoes made. That's not a lot for America. That's not a lot of shoes. Now you narrow it down to who might have been in D.C. near J6, and there's all these other parameters. You can narrow that number down. So there's probably less than 50 people that they think could be the guy. But the fact that they haven't gotten them 5 years later, they have no leads whatsoever. Now they're having to release all this additional footage because they're lost. Maybe it was a foreign actor who's fled the country the day after. I mean, a lot of people always assume it's domestic that causes the internal strife in America. But why not someone from Iran, Qatar, Israel, etc.?
Well, yeah, that, or I mean, again, I don't want to completely lose sight of this. This very well could have been a leftist as seeking to foment some sort of civil strife so they could impose their will. 'Cause, I mean, we did see in J6 there was a lot of speculation that there were like Antifa aligned actors in the crowd that were trying to agitate, trying to rile people up. Like, that is in their playbook to sort of bring forth civil strife so then they can do their thing, so they can operate with more impunity. But I mean, yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, the fact that they're having to throw the shoe size out shows that, it's a bit grim. Any leads here, but
a lot of people online are saying, I didn't get this from the video, but the additional security camera footage, they say the person walking, their gait would imply it's a woman. I don't get that sense. The shoe thing, definitely, that looks like a male shoe.
Let's play some of this video.
See the gate.
I will watch this and do a gait analysis.
And then south on South Capitol Street. This footage of the suspect on South Capitol
That
Street
does look
shows the person
effeminate.
setting
Kind of a
down their
strut.
backpack, which is believed to contain one of the bombs at this time.
I'm going to say woman. I'm going to tell you why. It's the bending over.
Yeah. It's
Watch the bending over.
This footage of the suspect on South Capitol Street shows the person setting down their backpack, which is believed to contain one.
Because women have lower centers of gravity, it's much easier for them to control their legs as they're bending their torso up and down. Men would not that likely is not masculine. I don't know for sure, but it's very effeminate movements. And seriously, watch the videos of women. They have a man and a woman stand against a wall, and they'll tell the woman to bend over and pick something up and the man to do it. Men can't because of their higher center of gravity. So when you notice the legs stay perfectly straight and don't move as the torso moves up and down, very indicative of a woman.
Of the bombs at this time.
Hard to know for sure, though.
The suspect
narrow
appears
hips.
to put on a pair of glasses and scan the area, standing on tiptoes.
Trans man?
Regardless, we should be looking for cars with curb rash. I think that'll help us.
There you go. That proves it.
Yeah.
Before picking up the backpack, turning around, and heading back the way they came
like the
on
music.
South
It's
Capitol
very-
Street.
Right. Very FBI. Yeah.
True crime.
Yeah.
FBI stepped their game up.
After reaching the corner of D Street, the suspect turns around again, and this time walks south all the way down South Capitol Street to a bench outside the Democratic National Committee headquarters building.
Hard to tell from this.
That
So
was not good quality.
yeah. Low frame rate. Wonder who picked the music. This one sounds good.
Yeah.
Here we see the suspects sit on the bench for a few minutes. They do not
That's-
place the bomb at this time.
Man spreading.
Man spreading?
True. Yeah. And men like to sit on benches and think.
That is true. That is indicative of a man.
The suspect then walks east on Ivy Street.
So we know it's either a man or a woman.
Oh.
Narrows
Narrowed
it
it
down.
down.
Narrows it down.
Well, I was gonna say they put the bag down really delicately, but I guess there's a bomb in it, so you probably
Two of them.
But it was a fake bomb that was very similar to the training bombs they use. Is my understanding.
He's just a very zesty man, I think.
Turns
Trans
north
person?
on New Jersey
Right,
Avenue, and then pauses near the corner of D Street before retracing their steps back to the DNC bench where the first bomb is placed.
I just want to really stress though, because guys don't bend down like that.
Yeah, no, that's 100%.
And this does look a little bit more feminine. I don't know. It's tough.
I think it's a woman.
Let's
The bending over for the bag is just guys don't do that. Guys typically don't have the flexibility to do that. I'm not kidding. The like how many guys can stretch forward and touch their toes?
If you're saying though, if this is a fed or some kind of deep state individual, wouldn't they? The assumption they're in shape, they're very physically fit.
No.
You don't think so? Someone that would be sent for this kind of operation.
You don't have to be super.
You're not going to
shaped
send a
just-
fat guy.
Okay,
or
but
someone out of shape.
let's just try this. Literally, we're all dudes. Stand up and bend over perfectly, standing straight up without your legs moving to reach down and grab something off the ground.
I'll do it.
The audience is going
do
to
it?
Get the wide cam, Serge.
Get the wide cam. This proves everything. Now you're bending your knees.
I'm just picking it up to put
Okay.
it in place. Let's see.
Don't bend your knees. Reach down without bending your knees.
My hamstrings.
So the point is this. You could do it, but you wouldn't because it's not comfortable. You'd bend your
Right.
knees.
I'd probably go.
I see. Yeah.
I'd probably squat. a
So,
little bit.
but more importantly, this individual went up and down, went down, up, and then down more,
Sticking their
without the
derriere.
legs moving, and they were together. Very feminine.
They're really sticking their derriere out as well.
Right.
Oh, my hamstrings.
So I guess lesbian then.
Maybe.
Here
fair
we
enough.
see the
Lesbian.
suspect place
Is
the
there any
bomb
Subaru
at
spotted nearby?
approximately
Newly
7:54
minted
p.m.
Toyota Tacoma.
Is anybody getting a boy haircut recently?
Basketball shoes though.
Basketball. That's very lesbian.
That is very lesbian.
On place. There you go. This is wild. They did a lot of work on this.
WNBA paraphernalia found nearby.
From there, the person walks north on South Capitol Street.
Swinging the bag.
Really in the bag.
Really having fun.
Be curious to how fast this person was actually walking. It looks like they're
Yeah.
hustling.
East on D Street. South
when,
on New Jersey Avenue.
Remember when the wife? Okay, so Ilhan Omar is dating this guy who's married, and then some Eritrean guy just randomly kills someone who looks just like his wife in the same neighborhood where his wife lives, and everyone was kind
Nothing
of
to
like,
see here.
they were like, maybe the Eritrean guy was supposed to kill his wife, but killed the wrong person instead.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was a red-haired woman walking a dog, got murdered randomly for no reason. And then you find out that this dude that Ilhan Omar's with is married to a redheaded woman in the neighborhood who walked a dog. And it's like, did somebody tell that AirTran guy to kill her and then he killed the wrong one?
Well, yeah.
Northeast on North Carolina Avenue, when we lose video coverage of the suspect at approximately 8 p.m. 8 minutes later, at about 8:08 p.m., we pick the suspect back up on camera heading north on 2nd Street.
Weird.
The suspect walks west on C Street, enters an alley that leads to Rumsey Court, and
Trying
then
to
walks
avoid
west
surveillance.
on Rumsey Court.
That's a woman.
A little bit
Look
of
how
a
the
strut.
feet are walking.
I'm saying it's a woman.
How they go in front of
Hips.
each other. It's in the hips.
Yeah.
It's like a strut, kind of.
This footage shows the suspect pass between the RNC and the Capitol Hill Club, holding the backpack out
Maybe
to the
trans
side.
man. I'm not kidding. Maybe trans man.
The person continues
No boobs.
between the RNC and the Capitol Hill Club. Then continues north on 1st Street, east on C Street,
The hell?
Case in the joint.
Just walking
Yeah.
all over.
back into the alley,
Making sure
toward
no one's
Rumsey
around
Court,
and
back
taking their
onto
time.
Rumsey Court.
He seems really familiar with the RNC, so he might be gay.
Oh.
That's
He?
true. Might be gay.
Disgruntled staffer.
Yeah.
They placed the second pipe bomb at approximately 8:16 p.m. The suspect then turns back onto Rumsey Court, walking east until the person is last seen on camera at approximately 8:18 p.m., wearing the backpack on their shoulders. The bomb is believed to have been placed shortly before this video, based on how the suspect is carrying the backpack. We still believe there is someone out there who has information they may not have realized was significant until now. We're asking you to come forward to share that information with the FBI. Please call the FBI.
All right.
So, Tim, could you rewind real quick to the graphic when it shows when he placed the first bomb at the DNC? I'm curious to the timestamp on there compared to when he placed the RNC bomb, and then I want to see that distance. How much time it took for him to cover that distance?
I think it was like, what, 20-something minutes?
It was all within like a half hour or something like that.
Because it was
Yeah. It's you can't bounce around on X videos like that.
yeah.
So, but they have it written down. 7:34 and 8:15 is when it's happening. The Vice at the DNC was 7:54. RNC was 8:16.
Okay.
It's really not that late at night to be.
It's not. That's
yeah.
that's just the evening.
Right.
And it was what the RNC and DNC is about 6 blocks from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20 minutes ish.
Fake bombs that look very similar to the bombs they use in training exercises.
Were they fake?
Yes.
I thought they were real. They just didn't go off.
I thought they were fake, weren't they?
I don't think the FBI said.
Or maybe maybe they not have said either way.
Yeah, they just say pipe bombs. Okay, no, viable explosive devices.
Wow. Okay. So,
The devices were diffused. Okay, I was wrong. Wow.
and if this was an operation of a deep state or CIA of some sort, this is the perfect suspect. You can't see their face. They're fully clothed, gloved, mask, and we don't know if it's a man or woman. We're debating it.
Right.
Like this is the perfect subject for this.
Where were you at, Tate?
Yeah.
On 2021 at 7:54 p.m.
I need to talk to a lawyer.
It's like your bar mitzvah, right?
There was a wall involved. I was kissing it. You know, it was the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I think it's very obviously this is maybe it's not Fed, but it's some kind of operation.
Yeah.
I still I think people in America are so quick to just assume this is a leftist or false flag, just domestic, whatever angle you choose. But dude, at the height of when this was going on, and you realize Trump was contesting the election, the Russia claims weren't debunked. People still thought he was a Russian asset. Who knows if I lean towards foreign government of some sort.
To be fair, in the lead up to January 6th, it was still like a very well-known quantity. There was a lot of Democrat politicians, leftist media were complaining about the march in general. They were saying, oh, this is like ridiculous, this is over the top. So I think among the leftist activist space, they were aware that, there was going to be a ton of patriots in D.C. on one day.
Because why would you target both?
That's what I was going to say. The fact that both of these locations were targeted it's either there to completely throw you off. You would need like one bomb to be real and one to be fake, or it's very clear that ultimately this is meant to sow confusion, right?
Right.
Like if you had a specific political target, you wouldn't distribute the bombs equally across both parties. That wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of the news, I mean, this is an old story, and we're kind of talking about it for the first time in a while. But when the story was big, it was all kind of attributed to, see, look how violent J6 was. There was pipe bombs and a riot.
How did AOC know? Ooh. How did AOC know in advance that Trump supporters would storm the building? You know the story, right?
I don't.
This is like a month after January 6th. AOC told the story. I think it was a month. It might have been a couple weeks. Told the story where she said she was in her office and she
I did know the story.
Banging on her door, and she went and hid in the bathroom thinking the rioters have found me. And the guy went, "Where is she? Where is she?" And she thought she was going to die. And then it turns out it was actually the officer evacuating people because of the pipe bombs. At that point in time in her story, no one had breached the Capitol grounds even. When she was telling that story about the time when they bought lunch, what time it was, when this happened, you can track when the evacuations happened and when the actual storming of the Capitol happened. It was an hour later. What made her think rioters would have gotten into the Capitol complex and gone to the tunnels to her office? It's possible she's just making a fake story up.
I lean towards that.
Yeah,
I'm not going to give her the benefit of the doubt. No, she said they were going to kill me. Okay. How'd you know they were going to get in the building?
I think they all needed to build up that terror, right? Like that's the whole point. And I think that's why a lot of people are very suspicious about the number of FBI agents in the crowd during this whole thing.
What is up to 300?
Right. Yeah. Plus, not even to mention the number of informants on top of that. Like you have so many people there, and I'm sure that there were people who wanted to enter the Capitol at some level. There were people who were getting out of hand at some level. But if you're a highly corrupt FBI that's obviously been pushing Joe Biden's agenda on the right the entire time, if you've been identifying the right as the most dangerous terror threat, the most dangerous domestic terror threat, if you've been fed all this stuff, it's probably not too hard for the agents involved to be like, well, maybe if we encourage a few people to go in, they want to do it anyway, right? We're just moving it along. It's just a little bit of entrapment. It's not a problem, and then the whole thing kind of spirals. So I think it's one of those scenarios where everything is already lit, and all they had to do was drop the match into the tinder, and they were like, yeah. I think we're okay.
I'm also curious to what comes out of this. Cash just said, "Hey, we're on the verge of unmasking the structure behind Antifa," and I think it was Andy. No, I could get that wrong, but someone has been doing work exposing people at J6 dressed up as MAGA, and they're known Antifa members.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's Andy No that's been doing this work. So now I'm curious to what the FBI is going to find, and if there's any connection between these NGOs, Antifa, and what happened in the lead up to J6.
There are videos of people like getting dressed, like they're by a bunch of trees, and people are like, "What are you guys doing?" And it looks like feds. Not to mention, there are several people who are seen committing acts of violence who are never tracked down by insurrection hunters or the police.
One of the things that people don't really put together, they complained about Trump, getting this giant budget for ICE and building this huge force. He's getting a military-style budget. And a lot of people complain, we don't need that. We had Rand Paul and Thomas Massie and these guys saying, don't do it. They don't think about the fact that if the FBI is truly compromised, like if it's really, truly compromised beyond any hope, what would you do?
Right.
Would you build up your own force, your own domestic law enforcement force from the bottom up with military style budget where you get to hire the vast majority of the people and ensure that they're loyal to you? Like people just don't do that math, but we know the FBI has been desperately corrupt for an extremely long time. It's probably not going to investigate itself and figure it all out.
Yeah, it takes, and I understand the frustration from people, obviously, especially because within the conservative movement, we've been antagonized by the intelligence sphere for so long. But yeah, the unfortunate thing is it does take quite a bit of time to reorient the FBI away from prosecuting and persecuting right-wingers. Like that's been their specialty for the last 50 years.
That's what everyone in the organization has been hired for, that purpose, right? Even Christopher Wray, who is appointed by Trump, goes out and says right-wing domestic terror, the most dangerous thing in the United States, right? Like that has been the governing doctrine of that organization for decades. It doesn't just go away because Kash Patel shows up and fires a few guys.
Yeah, you don't just like put up a LinkedIn listing for FBI agent, FBI official. Like it takes a while to like churn the staff.
But it turns out you can do that when you're scaling ICE up.
That's true, and it's very based. Well, even ICE has some pretty high standards. Like, I mean, but that obviously you're building it up, so that's different than churning, a force. So yeah, and this is happening all across the administration. There's a lot of frustration, a lot of like, what's taking so long, this, that, and the other. And yeah, it's really important to put in perspective. what a typical Republican administration looked like. I think we forget where we were before this. But then B, how long it takes to reorient these, how long it takes to reorient these agencies. I mean, it takes a very, very long time because there's so much entrenched staff. There's so much deep state. Thankfully, this government shutdown has obviously given the Trump admin some breathing room now where they can start, telling people like, yeah, you don't need to come back to work, that sort of thing. But yeah, like you're saying, I mean, these things take time, and it's unfortunate because we want to move quick, obviously, especially seeing people get killed. But yeah, it's not like you can just snap your fingers. There's not a button on Trump's desk that says like make the left go away. Like, unfortunately, it's just not how it works. Unless, I don't know, maybe Stephen Miller has a plan. I don't know. Maybe there is a button somewhere, but
you're fired button.
As far as I know, there's only a Diet Coke button. He doesn't have the fix everything magically button.
We need one of those.
That was the annoying thing in the culture war where Brian Shapiro was arguing Trump's been complaining about healthcare for 9 years and hasn't fixed it. And I'm like, okay. Like, what's the argument? That he's been complaining and hasn't fixed it. And I'm like, I complain about a lot of things I can't fix too. Like, I don't understand why you're pretending to be upset by this. Trump doesn't have a magic button to solve every problem. He's a guy. Like, we have to be happy with what he gets done and ask him to try harder on things that he's not getting done.
It's a weird thing to get hung up on.
It's ultimately like the purpose, if you are a right winger, if you are right of center and you want to win, your purpose is to move the football down the field in whatever capacity you're in. And not every play is going to be a Hail Mary. Not every play is even going to be like a long 50-yard completion. Sometimes it's like a little 3-yard run up the middle. Like, that's how these things work. But you have to consistently move the football down the field. And when you look at the Trump administration, he is continually pushing the football down the field.
That's a new line of thinking.
They are marching.
Who was that guy who ran 60 yards in the wrong direction?
Oh,
There's
that's
been
happened a
bunch
few
of them.
times.
There's been a bunch.
Put him in concussion protocol.
Happens in college football.
The punter, when the punter missed.
Steelers had a
ball.
bad.
There's a lot of Republicans that do that.
That's my point.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So,
But I think that's
and you're like, hold on a minute, maybe they're doing that on purpose.
right.
that's a new line of thinking though, because like I remember like the first like big election that I was aware of was Mitt Romney and Obama, and Mitt Romney's that the conservatives then it's night and day compared to the conservative movement now. Like now they're like, hey, no, we don't want to just stop Democrats. We want to actually push our own agenda and get our own things done.
I mean, you've been around the conservative movement for a really long time, Tim, as well. Like, from my perspective, it seems like Trump was the first time that people were voting, Republicans, right of center people were voting for a candidate, when pretty much every election prior to that, people were just saying, keep him out of office.
Yep.
Fine, I'll plug my nose and vote for this guy. Like, Mitt Romney was just an anti-Obama vote.
I mean, I voted for Trump as a largely keep Biden out of office. Second time around, it was relatively similar, but Trump has proven himself.
The conservative base seems to be like, I'm voting for Trump.
Indeed, correct.
That's because Trump was a middle finger to the Republican Party too, right? Like Trump was just as destructive to what the Republican Party was as he was to the idea of leftist dominance as well, which is why so many people hated him, and they still hate him, by the way. Like, the vast majority of these people who, a lot of them went never Trump, and they did the Bill Kristol bulwark thing, but there are plenty of people who were never Trump who came back to the conservative movement and suddenly discovered a respect for Donald Trump until they could vote for Ron DeSantis, and all of a sudden you had to vote for Ron DeSantis, or you were a traitor to the country and you hated whatever. And then Ron DeSantis lost, so they kind of had to go back to Trump again. And now they're trying to police all the people who are actually loyal to Trump back out of the movement, right? So the Republican Party is still fighting Trump at every stage. And so really, Trump is not just defeating the left. He is also defeating what was conservatism as well, because it's not fit for purpose. It does not conserve anything. We've all recognized that at this point.
Still, do you think that's still happening though? Because definitely in like 2022, 2023, when DeSantis announced his candidacy, there was definitely a lot of pushback from like rhinos and the Nikki Haley's and stuff. But I think everyone's kind of fallen in line at this point on the right.
I disagree. I think that there are a lot of people who are playing Trump fans so they can guide the Trump. They recognize MAGA is the future now. So how do I define MAGA, right? If you're not familiar, this is how neoconservatives entered into the Republican Party, right? Like, this is the Buckleyite purge of the right. This is we have had a situation over and over again where the establishment sees the new wheel turning and they take control by coming in and saying, well, actually, we get to decide what that looks like. Even though we were against you 10 minutes ago, now we're on your team. And since we're so smart and elevated and everything, maybe we get to dictate where we're going, right? And so with that, I think we're seeing a lot more of that. They'll not come out and say directly, I'm against Trump.
Right.
But they are against everybody who supported Trump the whole time they were against Trump.
Basically just Massey and Rand Paul.
And that seemed to be the real sort of a side consequence of the DeSantis candidacy, was it made it clear to Trump who was still loyal to him. 'Cause at that time, like it was like Trump was bleeding allies. I mean, Charlie Kirk was one of the only guys in the space that was like, no, we're sticking. He's the guy. I mean, Trump was bleeding allies everywhere, and I think that for him was actually a moment that was helpful, that was beneficial to him. Was it weeded out a lot of people that coded MAGA, but were ready to flip at the soonest opportunity, the quickest off ramp. So,
Yeah.
is the camera still on me?
Yeah, it is.
We're waiting for you to finish your point.
Point's been made. I'm loyal to Trump till the very end. I'm a Trump loyalist, American Caesar.
Let's talk about what happens if we lose. We have this from the Post Millennial. 70% of Democrats support amnesty for illegal immigrants, according to Rasmussen. 47% of voters said that Trump's immigration policies have been too harsh. 32% said they were just right. 70% said not harsh enough. 70% of Democrats support legislation toward amnesty to illegal immigrants who are in the United States, according to this poll. So if Democrats get power, we know exactly what they're going to do. For the fourth time now? They're going to let a large block of non-citizens become citizens. And I don't know, what is this, Rome?
I mean, I'm 41 now, and I cannot remember a single election during my adult lifetime that was considered legitimate. Like starting with Bush and Gore, and then you had Obama and the birth certificate, and then you had all the questions of Russiagate and everything with Trump, and then it was the election with Biden and all the counts there. Nobody has accepted truly an election as legitimate the whole time I've been able to vote as an adult. And we're all still standing around like that's not going to have a cost eventually, right? So now we're done like making arguments. The Democrats are just going to import new voters, or if they can't win that way, they're just going to do violence. But the idea that like they're just going to say, oh, well, I guess the Republicans, they just won that election and now that's just the way things are, that is never happening again. It hasn't happened the whole time I've been around.
We'll be in prison. We'll be in the gulag.
Gulag.
That's what worries me about the Zoran stuff, dude. If the Democrat Party is positioning themselves in support of Zoran and his policies, and they win the midterms, that's frightening.
Yeah, well,
it's terrifying.
And the thing about Zoran that's so disturbing is he's importing like a third world form of authoritarianism that's kind of foreign. Like the Democrats, yes, they have demonstrated they have this proclivity, but it's not the third world style. Where the third world style is legitimately just killing your political enemies, throwing them in jail, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, the Democrats have flirted with that, but Zoran importing that style of vaguely left-wing politics is like really disturbing, because that for them is not even really about pushing any policy down the field. It's literally just about vengeance, retribution. This is what you saw in Uganda. I mean, Idi Amin, like, what can anybody name a single policy of his? Like, I don't know, but all I know is he was, persecuting his political enemies. It's a form of vengeance that is particular to that part of the world. And then you're going to bring, that voter base in to support. You're going to bring that voter base in from the third world that will continue to advocate for these policies. Don't believe me? Look at Minneapolis. Look at Ilhan Omar. All she's doing is just
little
reflect.
Somalia.
Everyone's like, how is it that she's a Muslim but supports LGBT? It's because like that's not the point. The point is just like retribution and vengeance.
Destroy America. So it's also divide and conquer. It is, we want a Somali Muslim community where we live, and we need to weaken their machine to empower ours.
It's amazing how gullible conservatives are. If you just throw some kind of ideological gobbledygook at them, they'll just debate that forever rather than notice the obvious. Like, no, foreign hordes are importing their own people to take over your stuff. Like, you could track this back to thousands of years in BC and it wouldn't matter. It's the same strategy. Nothing has changed about human nature. The fact that you have some abstract ideology where you think that as soon as someone walks into America, they randomly become George Washington. Like, sorry, but that's not actually how it works. But conservatives will just debate this endlessly rather than recognize the obvious.
What if we created some kind of viral gene manipulation where when they walked in, we spray them and then they actually turn into George Washington?
Yeah, their IQ goes up 20 points. They gain all of the...
just go,
I don't get it. We gave them the pocketbook constitutions and they still want to eat me. Like, what is it?
No, I think you're all wrong, because clearly, as everybody knows, once we delivered the American constitutional system to Liberia, they became a developed, heavily civilized nation, and it's a
They just launched their space station. It's going great.
It's great.
Oh, yeah.
It's like one of those air hogs you just
they
stomp on
still
it.
eat each other. There's a lot of cannibalism there, but
You get hungry, Yeah.
the space station was a drawing from a tourist who was there, not actually the country of Liberia.
In crayon, But.
In crayon. Liberia is a really great example of this multiculturalism is fake. We go to this place, we establish a colony, we say, here's how the government works, and they're like, so we eat each other? And we're like, no, you vote, but I want to eat him. And then it's like, we come back to check on them, and they're like, how's the government going? And they're just like,
It was delicious. The government was
Like
delicious.
barbecue's in charge now. I don't know what to tell you.
No, what was the guy's name? What was the actual guy's name? Butt Naked. General Butt Naked.
Yeah.
General butt naked.
Yeah, barbecue is Haiti.
Right. Like it's
They're eating
losing,
people there
losing
too.
track of all
Wherever-
the cannibals.
Wherever you're eating people.
Isn't he still doing
Auron,
that?
I'm confused by this. Could you explain to us why giving an American constitutional system to people in Liberia did not create a utopia?
Sure. So constitutions are not just written documents. Constitutions are literally what it sounds like. They are the way that the people are constituted. And so when we write down things on a piece of paper, we're just capturing what we were in that moment. So the reason that the American founding document is so beautiful is not just that the words on paper are great, though they are. It's that the people who wrote them down were capturing the way they lived their lives and actually showing us this is who we are as a people. If you replace the people, you replace the Constitution. It doesn't matter if you still have a written document, the document is not enough. So like South Africa has one of the most amazing constitutions ever in a lot of people's mind. It promises housing and all these amazing things. And guess what? South Africa sucks. And it's because the Constitution itself cannot mediate what's happening there. The document can only work if it's a shared agreement about your traditions, your heritage, your religious beliefs, your values. And the minute you treat that legal document as like the actual structure of your government, you've completely failed to understand what holds your country together. And this is why it matters what the people believe and the quality of the people, which is what the founders actually told us. That was what John Adams said. We need a moral and religious people. The country's not going to work. The Constitution is not going to work. It's not because he thought the Constitution was bad or failed or couldn't do the job. It's that he knew constitutions were only a reflection of their people. And so if you hand a constitution foreign to Liberia, they will act like Liberians and not whatever the Constitution says.
Yeah, like they were so obviously like pretty exclusive about who they viewed as an American. I mean, like Thomas Jefferson bought a Quran. And everyone points to this. They're like, see, he was this open-minded guy. He like went to war with Libya, like right after he read. He's like, what? Okay, let's go and find a country over there, just invade them. Like the founding fathers are like very clear of who because this is one of the last questions Charlie Kirk sort of posed to the conservative movement was like, what is an American? And like that's a really vital question that's screaming out for an answer.
Well, and John Jay actually told us in Federalist number 2, which is so weird because like we have this whole like body of what the founders actually thought, and we all just kind of ignore it when we debate the founders' values. He said it's one nation and one people. We're descended from the same people, speaking the same language, sharing the same religion. Like it wasn't coy about what a nation was.
Yeah.
Like he was very explicit.
Well, you made this point, I think it was on Tucker, where you were saying like that Anglo-Protestant sort of ethos that captured like the founders sort of the way that they viewed the world, what their culture was, their religion, et cetera, et cetera. Like the closer you get to that, the closer you will get to the Constitution just kind of being natural and flowing. And the further away you get from that, the more it's going to be a little bit convoluted. And then, you look at Minneapolis and it's like they just view the Constitution as restrictive and irritable and an imposition rather than like just kind of a natural outflowing. Where I look at the Constitution, I'm like, that makes sense. Yeah, totally.
Right. I'm not one of these people who thinks that it's entirely impossible for someone to assimilate to the United States. Like even Pat Buchanan said that people can assimilate to the United States. But he was very clear, they have to have something to eliminate or assimilate to, right? Like that you have to have a predominant culture. And if you bring in a lot of people who don't share that culture all at once, that culture will cease to be. That's as obvious as it can be to anyone in the world. Right. So it's not like you can't bring a few people in from a foreign country because they married an American or they're an exceptional person and they can learn the ways of America over time and over generations their family can become American. But you can't just walk millions of people in and be like, well, we read the Constitution and now they're all Americans.
I got it. MK Ultra, remember that? Anyone who comes to this country has to get MK Ultra.
It's not bad.
2 weeks, locked in a room with no windows, metal, whatever they're called, holding your eyes open while you watch just like
JD Vance memes.
GHS edits.
All right.
Yeah,
DHS memes.
Yeah. Aura farming from the
It might work. It's better than our current strategy. Yeah. Well, I mean, to your point too, is like, you have to have something to assimilate too, because this is like something conservatives keep saying. I'm like, well, this is not true. It's like they're like, how did someone like Zorn? He's not assimilated. How did this happen? I'm like, have you ever been to the outer boroughs of New York City? He actually reflects
fits in perfectly.
Yeah, he reflects the new group there like very well. Actually, it's like you knew around here. This is kind of what our city's look like these days.
One silver lining to Zoran and what's happening in New York City is they're going to speed run this test of socialism in arguably the largest. It's still by population the largest city in America,
Oh, like
right?
2 times as big as
Yeah. So they're going to speed run this test, and I predict that it's going to fail miserably, and so you could get a conservative New York after all this.
I don't think so because Jack Posobiec.
It's a dream, but I can
Jack
dream.
Posobiec made this point, and it's just really poignant, and it's kind of a hard pill to swallow, but it's true. He was talking about the New York City mayoral election. He's like, this isn't an election about policy anymore. This is an election that's basically a census. This is an election about demographics.
That's right. California, is it better run now or when it was in the 50s and 60s?
Right.
But you can't get a Republican elected in California anymore. Why? Is it because Democrats are so much better at running California? No, the electoral results don't matter. You moved a bunch of people into the United States and shifted the demographics of California.
But that's
all that matters.
But whatever the reason, it is obvious that California is mismanaged and not being run properly. So the option is Trump should declare an insurrection and go in and clean it up.
Your options are either to separate from these people or to rule them. There is no other option, right?
To rule them.
Yeah. Those are your options.
I do think New York will be different than what you're describing in California, because that was like a slow rot problem, right? Like it was decades of mismanagement and then all of a sudden you look back and you're like, how did we get here? With Zoran's policies about like privatizing the grocery stores, I think he wants
to make.
He wants to social grocery stores. That's change that's going to happen overnight, and it's people's going to see that impact.
But do you
overnight.
really think about how awesome it is for people who don't live in New York? We could get like a big box truck, go to one of his commie stores, buy a ton of stuff, and just bring it here, and we save tons of money. And it's them who's collapsing. We'll then sell these goods at low rates to the stores here for a small profit. You exploit the communism.
You know, that's a joke, but I guarantee there's people already thinking of this, like in neighboring states. Like, I can't wait.
Exactly why this is so dumb. People are, and not even neighboring states. You're going to live in New York, and you're going to go to these stores, and you're going to say, no profit products, I'll take the lot. Then they're going to drive across the way to Jersey, and they're going to be like, I can sell it to you at cost for delivery. You guys, look, the 20% margin gone. I make 5%, you make 15%, and they're going to be like, "This is amazing." And then these stores will never have food in them.
They're doing this at the casino. You see these people walk up and they buy like a whole carton of cigarettes, and I'm like, "Why? That's insane! You're paying casino price. It's like $15 a pack." They're taking it because they've got bonus points through the casino, taking it and selling it somewhere else.
Well, you know, in Chicago, the way it works is that Illinois passed these taxes on cigarettes, but Indiana didn't. So people would drive to Indiana, buy a ton of cartons of cigarettes. Then every party you were at, people were like, smokes, who wants smokes?
Yeah.
And they called them squares back then.
I bartered with cigarettes all through Africa because like in the capital you could get them.
I thought we were getting a prison story. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, Africa really is one big prison when you really think about it. Yeah, but like, yeah, I would be like in Nairobi, and then when I was in like the countryside in the bush, there's no access to cigarettes there. So I wasn't even using it. I was just using them to barter. Like I'd pay for taxis and stuff with them because it's just like, even though it's worth less than what the taxi would have cost, or the taxi you're just hopping on the back of a motorcycle, using the cigarette, they're like, oh, well, I don't have to go to Nairobi anymore. I can just help this guy out.
But I do want us to just remember this. Like, it's really, really important. Is the economics dumb? Yes. Do they even know the economics is dumb? They might, actually. The point is, this is not about the economic system. This is a raid.
Right.
Like, this is how to loot the treasury. It's not about, I figured out Karl Marx is actually correct about distribution of goods. No. This is about people from a foreign country coming in, seeing that you have stuff that they don't have, and then taking it from you. Like, this is not about an economic system.
Yeah.
Let's jump to this story from the AP. This was pretty wild. This broke last night. Trump says he's ending trade negotiations with Canada over TV ads. They ran these misleading ads where it was, I guess, Ronald Reagan disparaging tariffs or whatever. $75,000 ad. They only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts. Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the U.S. All trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. I look forward to Canadians whinging on X being like, this is not fair and we're going to throw your stuff away. And it's like, bro, let's see how long your economy lasts when we cut you off.
Yeah.
We have no obligation to provide support to Canada. It's not, you're not, you know what? You can be the 51st state or you can cry about it.
We should just buy them with the money we're tariffing off of them. Just like save up for a few months and just buy them.
Put it all in, we're buying Canada jar on the top of the refrigerator.
Let's be real. If we cut off all trade to Canada, literally cut them off, how long would they last?
Not very long.
Month or two.
Yeah.
And then once they're in their weakened state, we pick up the scraps.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm sick of this Canadian arrogance. I got a ton of death threats when I jokingly said we should conquer Canada. We'll be greeted as liberators. They're so arrogant. Not all Canadians. Some of them actually would greet us as liberators, saying, please help us from what our government's doing. But it's fascinating how many arrogant Canadians there are that act like the United States needs them. There are many businesses in the United States that do trade with Canada, and they make money, and those businesses will suffer from this stuff. It's unfortunate for those Americans, but we have no obligation as a nation to subsidize Canada. And they say, yes, but we provide you with peanuts and oil, and that's just fine. We don't need it. We like it, we want it, but needs a totally different scenario. We shut down that border, yeah, we'll hurt a little bit. I think most people largely will go without noticing it, and Canada will be bent over backwards.
I mean, the country's own leadership is turning it into a colony of India. So we can't do anything worse to Canada than they're doing to their own citizens.
They haven't, and not just that, like they're like importing ethnic grievances. Like in Brampton, Ontario, there's like I don't even know what groups, but they like go at it in like Walmart parking lots and stuff. It's like, wow, thanks a lot, guys. I think we just take the CN Tower and move it to Vegas. Just like steal it, just move it, shut the border down. We're keeping Justin Bieber. Sorry about it. That'd be the ultimate message.
The only thing Canada has are those like kind of like C-list sci-fi shows. Those are all made in Canada.
Those are pretty good.
That's true.
House Hunters is really, I like House Hunters.
Oh, that's that in Canada?
Yeah, their major import is the
CW
Sci-Fi
shows.
Channel.
Yep, the CW ones, yep.
They ended the Arrowverse anyway, so
We can maybe annex those studios and then...
We just keep Vancouver.
But no, in all seriousness, they don't like listen. Half the country's frozen for the country's frozen for half the year. The farming's not that great. We have oil in Alaska, right? So it's like there's not actually maybe maple syrup, maybe some of the maple trees. They
got
don't
maple
need
syrup.
anything they're
Vermont.
offering.
But
We
just
have
think about
it.
this: how many troops would we really need to conquer Canada? Very little. It would be a rounding error for us to put in the budget conquering of Canada. So I say we do.
Yeah.
They can keep Quebec though.
They can keep going.
Well, we
Wouldn't
need
it be great-
Greenland
I don't like
first.
Canadians.
I think we need Greenland as like a station point, kind of almost like a.
Wouldn't it be amazing if we couldn't hold Afghanistan, but we could hold Canada?
Yeah.
Like ultimately, like
That'd be really base. We actually complete a road.
yeah, they don't have goat herder technology, so we're able to like actually take them over.
Well, in all actuality, the geopolitical play in taking Canada, and this is why the Trump administration actually floated it, is because the Arctic is opening up now. We're trying to we're trying to provide a counterbalance for the powers that be. And so, grabbing the Northwest Territories and Nunavut, I think is how you pronounce it, that gives us access to this potential, sea route that's opening up through the north.
See, the Russian foreign minister proposed a bridge, an underwater, a tunnel between Alaska and Russia, and a lot of people are laughing it off. But I mean, you're right. Like a Solar Observer, Ben Davidson is warning about this. Like as the climate's shifting, for whatever reason you want to attribute it to, the ice is melting. These shipping lanes are opening up. That part of the world is going to see a lot more interaction than ever before than we can, in our history at
I
least.
think it was like 6 months ago where a breaker successfully completed the route and brought a boat with
I was
it.
going to say, doesn't Russia have just this giant fleet of icebreakers compared to
They
everybody
have
else?
a
do.
huge
They do a
fleet.
lot.
Yeah, well, because they have Murmansk in the north of Russia. That's a port that's like frozen for like 9 months a year. But they got to get stuff in there because I don't think it connects to their road system. So that's the only way to get stuff there.
So, guys, I asked our friend ChatGPT, which is retarded, by the way. Seriously, it's the worst LLM of all now. But I said, based on historical wars, how many troops would the U.S. need to conquer Canada? What do you think it said?
$1 million?
dozen.
500,000.
200,000.
You're all wrong. It said, I can't help plan, estimate, or advise on committing violence or an invasion. Asking how many troops would be needed to conquer a country is a request to facilitate violent wrongdoing, so I have to refuse.
What about in Minecraft?
That's what it said.
Ask about it in Minecraft.
Wait, hold on. It actually thought that we sitting here were planning to utilize the U.S. military to invade and conquer Canada, or that we had in some way the possibility to amass an army to do so. That is the stupidest thing ever. So I responded with, no one is going to attack Canada. I am asking based on military size for academic reasons for math. Fair. You said this is academic and math. I can do that only at a high level. No operational advice, no invasion planning. I was just asking it. What I wanted it to do was take a look at the size of Canada, the size of the U.S., historical record, and based on warfare, like the amount of people, what is the typical amount of troops that are required to conquer a nation like Canada? And it says 1 soldier per 1,000 civilians is the minimal garrison metric. And it's saying force to population ratio. It would be, you would need, let's see, 3.8 active soldiers per 1,000 people. And so, what's it's not giving me, it's still refusing to give me a total number.
What's the population of Canada?
Yeah, we can do this.
39 million.
You just need Toronto, pretty much.
About 39 million.
You should take Toronto. That's it.
So 3.8, is that what it was? 3.8 soldiers per 1,000 into 40 million. So that's actually not that hard to calculate. That's 40 million is
Divided by 1,000.
So you're looking at 3,800 per million. Is that what it's going to be?
I'm sold.
No, wait,
You guys free
3.8.
tomorrow?
Hold on. It's
Who's doing it?
3.8
3.8 per 1,000.
per
do that-
1,000,
yeah, you're
40
there.
million.
So it's 3,800 per million.
So 40
right?
million divided by 1,000, right? Times 3.8.
Why can't you just answer the question? It would be what,
52?
3,800 times 40?
3,800 times 40.
I believe is my math right?
That's what I thought. 152,000. That's why I'm like, what? That doesn't. Yeah.
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 If it's 3.8 per 1,000 into 40 million, that would
Yeah.
be.
150,000.
Man, it really won't give me the answer.
I guess 200,000. So.
Yeah, you were the
feeling
Price is
pretty
Right
good.
rules. You're closest.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, I'm looking at my count. I'm busy this weekend. Can we do the Liberation of Canada?
It says
next
between
weekend?
about 100,000 troops.
Halloween,
Okay,
though.
so
Oh, we might be able to scare them with our Halloween
Dang,
costumes.
just-
Well, we
Take
have the
Toronto,
culture. We're
that's all
live
I
on the
need.
8th, so we have to do it
Oh my
before
God.
then. We'll be busy that weekend.
You don't want that to interrupt your show.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe 2 weekends we could do it. Why not? No one has said a reason.
The number is going to be tricky because how many ports do they really have? Once we just blockade the
Vancouver,
ports.
Halifax, that's it.
As long as we disassemble, battle
102,000.
cruisers and reassemble them on the Great Lakes and fight like the War of 1812, that's all I would.
It's a
really
trick
want.
question
would be
because
nice.
Anduril is making drone technology now, so we're gonna have a fleet of American drones.
we don't need any troops.
We don't need any
We only need
troops.
20 just to play the video.
drone op.
games.
We need video. Yeah, we need 13-year-olds on Fortnite.
Gamers,
I
this
am-
is your moment.
I would argue before I'm going to get way more death threats now, but since the Charlie Kirk thing, the death threats have been, the threats in general just been way worse. So the two worst things that ever happened was when I claimed we would invade Canada. It was nuts. We got so many emails from people being like, "I'll kill you, Canada," and I'm like, And then, but we didn't take any of that seriously. The Charlie Kirk thing, everything's very serious. So the Canadians can say whatever they want.
And
nobody wants your Iceland. You know what I mean? Maybe Iceland.
Our threat worked because breaking news from the BBC: Ontario to stop running anti-tariff advert that led Trump.
There
to
you
Yeah,
go.
we
Good work, boys.
Great work.
we did it. We did it.
ChatGPT totally fell for it. He thought we were doing this for academic reasons.
Well, you mentioned Iceland, Tim. No one wants Iceland. They definitely don't. They have mosquitoes for the first time ever.
What?
Yeah, I saw.
No,
that.
I said nobody wants your Iceland. Maybe Iceland.
Oh.
I went.
Iceland's awesome.
Well, no one wants.
Smells like farts though.
Well, now they've got
Lagoons.
mosquitoes and fart.
Are we still going to get Greenland? Is that tabled?
Oh yeah,
Like, what happened to that?
we're a little
Whoa,
busy.
I just kind of realized something. Why don't we just take all countries?
yeah.
Spread democracy.
Ooh, wait, no, here's an idea.
Did that in Hoy
hold
Ford.
on.
have that policy.
Obviously, we don't have enough troops for every single country. But what if we created a system where we set up a bank and offered money to these countries to put them in debt? And then it's not that we have enough troops to actually conquer everybody, but that we could conquer any individual one by going back on these deals and rallying other forces against them. We can build this. It might take a couple decades. Eventually, every country will be within our financial system,
Right.
and we can cut them off and we'll own them.
Tim, that's not world domination. That's global governance. Okay, that's a responsible global community.
Totally unrealistic because we would need to put bases dotted around the world, and we could never.
Oh,
do
nobody would allow you that. That would look too much like some kind of global
in the
empire.
certain countries that really push back, what we can do is we just have to install a friendly person of their culture, and then they'll run the country the way we want them to.
What if they only watched our TV shows and our movies,
Sesame
and listened
Street.
to our music,
Ooh, good
and
idea.
then we can just tell them,
you know-
and they're
Friends?
You know what I was thinking? In the event that there's some, nation that just won't get on board, what we can do is first we can bribe them with money. We'll go to the leader and just say, "Listen, you'll live like a king. Let's get on board." And if they don't do that, we can then try and prop up maybe a rival to that politician and defeat them. And if that doesn't work, then we'll send in the troops and kill them. And they can maybe hide underground or,
Well, they're terrorists.
of course.
Yeah.
This is all in the abstract.
We saw
This
they
is all
died.
unprecedented.
This is all abstract.
Never has any of this ever happened.
Never happened.
The sad thing is, if we would just admit that we're an empire, then we could just rule people correctly.
that's why-
This is also this is an important point because this is the point Trump made in 2016 is all this discourse around the global war on terror and everything. And Trump's problem was just where's the oil? Because he has that emperor thinking. He wasn't concerned about the logistics. He was just just like, where's the oil? And that's actually really poignant. It's like, if we're going to be this global empire, can we benefit a little bit here?
But I got to be honest. I have a bit more respect for Trump, and I'm sure many people would, if he literally just went on TV, put on a crown, and said, "We are the American empire, and we're taking your oil." To be fair, he actually did this. Well, famously, in his first term, when he was in the near the ellipse, the helicopter, and they asked him, and he's like, "Saudi Arabia is going to buy a bunch of weapons from us. It's great for the economy." And all these anti-war people on the left and the right just went like their jaws dropped, and they were like, He just admitted it. He just admitted this is what the U.S. government does. And Trump was like, "Oh, yeah, and? I thought everyone knew that."
Oh, that's the best part about Trump. I mean, at some point you do hope that like J.D. Vance like offers him the laurel 3 times and he refuses it though. So you got a little bit of classic cover there. But yeah, no, Trump comes out all the time and just makes it clear like he expects transactional relationships politically. He's like, well, I don't understand. Obviously, we're in charge here. You should be kicking back to us. There's no hesitation,
We are going to go to the backstage Discord members instead of Super Chats as we do this special episode. I don't know how we've got it set up. We have a bunch of questions in advance, or we can just take the chat directly from the IRL backstage. For those that are wondering what's going on, we are experimenting with format, and this is a pre-recorded episode. We recorded a little bit earlier today, and we allowed the Discord members to go to timcast.com. You click join us, you sign up, to not only watch the whole live show pre-record, but even the hour or it's about 45 minutes, I think, of pre-production where they hung out while we were choosing stories and goofing off. And now we're going to take chats from the Discord community as opposed to what we normally do with the Super Chat. So I don't know how we have it, you guys, pulled up or what questions, but we'll certainly just read your questions from the backstage as we would any other Super Chat. I do think people gave us questions in advance, though. Everybody's frantically looking for them.
We should have them. Brett does have a compiled list somewhere, but I don't know if Serge has that pulled up. We do have a chat, though, on screen.
Yeah, I'm reading the chat right now, so you guys can just send in whatever you want, give you fair warning. And we'll start with this from Unemployed Tech Guy. Tim, why is Nick Fuentes gay? I would assume that if he was gay, I don't know that he is, but many people think he is, it would simply because he was born that way. Is there any other answer to that? I don't know. He watches anime?
What Boonies board did he buy? Do we know?
Who did?
Nick?
Yeah, for the be gay or don't be gay. That's how you decide.
We could gift him. We could gift him one. We'll say, "Oh, it's a mystery. We just picked a random one out, but it's the."
And just see which one he picks.
Just to clarify, the Mississippi gentleman asked, "Wait, this is pre-recorded?" No, you're listening to us live, but everybody who's watching in the normal time slot, it will have been recorded earlier in the day. We got this question from Dirtboard OG. Says, "Did Jason Ellis drop in on that crazy effing ramp after skate night?" He did not, and it probably was wise. I think he could do it. But he's also in his 50s, and that's the real concern. It's like when he was a young man, it would have been no problem. And we were all concerned. The drop-in actually isn't the challenge. And most people that like these pros who bring in, they look at the ramp and they're like, "I could do it." The problem is where you go afterwards, because you're going to be dropping and you're going to be going like 30 miles an hour from this vert ramp, and there's nowhere to go. So we need to set up like a bunch of pillows or something. Otherwise, people are going to just crash out and get seriously
You can
hurt.
get like those giant inflatable airbags. You see them at like.
We have them.
Yeah, but
You don't like those?
We do have those inflatable bags at the castle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
when he was
But,
here,
they're probably eaten by rats by now.
when he was here, he was walking back and forth, looking at the thing like a frantic dog, be like, "I'm gonna get that." He was foaming it. He was just eyeing it up and down, just ready to do it, but he couldn't do it.
All right, let's go. Soapy says, "It's been a year. Can we finally get the Boonies Discord set up and someone to actually rally the troops? I feel like the Boonies is severely lacking on all fronts. I've been told things are coming since day one and nothing except new deck designs every 3 or 4 months at Timcast. As I often state, unless I am doing the work, things don't happen. And don't ask me why. I don't know. But they know. What was it?
We've been doing the live shows.
The live. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yes, yeah. So we've been doing the skate night live events, which have been massive and have been taken over the skate industry by storm. We're looking at big sponsors who are now fighting over skate night, which is amazing. Not like we're going to get paid millions of dollars, but there's a bidding war now, and that's good news. And we've got 2 of the biggest pros for January that appear to be tangentially booked, which is going to be nuts. I'm talking high-profile individuals. I'm going to try to get one of them to come on Timcast IRL. I'm not going to say who it is, but it's going to be amazing. And not he's like a younger guy in his 30s. But as for the Discord, you are correct. We need management. So maybe our new managers will get on top of things and solve that. The crew itself have been working overtime to do those live events. So But you are correct. You are absolutely correct.
We also have a Green Room episode with Rep. Riley Moore, which was a skate session.
Oh, cool.
So if you guys are interested in the Boonies content, go check out that video on Timcast IRL Rumble.
I texted Riley Moore, and we Santos called Tim Burchett the other night.
Oh, he did call him?
About doing a congressional pro team. And I was like, Tim Burchett's a cruiser skater. My understanding, I don't think he does like flip tricks, but Riley Moore actually can do all the tricks.
Riley rips.
Riley, yeah, he kickflip.
Amazing.
He did a kickflip fakie on the bank. And I'm sure for, if Riley was a lot younger, he's high level skateboarding. The fact that he's in his 40s and a member of Congress and is not really a skateboarder, but can still do these tricks means he must have been really good. Yeah, because he came in, he did a kickflip to fakie with no problem. And I'm like, man, when he was in his 20s, I bet he was top tier. But now he's like family guy. He's working business. He doesn't skate all the time. So he rips.
He's local.
I've had him on the show, but I did not expect him to be a great skateboarder.
I think
he's awesome.
He's probably the only skateboarder, only person in Congress who can kickflip.
Nice.
So I'm like, let's do a congressional model. Here's the other big news. The new Boonies models are coming out very soon. There's going to be 65 original boards. There's going to be 5 unique ones. There's 5 unique designs. Then for each design, there will be 5 gold metallic versions of the board serialized. And once we sell out of these 70 boards, they will never be made again. So we're aiming for this about once a month to have a new design. And this next one it's like animals and environment, terrain. Animals and
Primal,
terrain.
like primal kind of thing? Or?
Well, I wouldn't call it primal. It's each board is a different animal with a different terrain.
Yeah.
And it's just a design for the Boonies, and there's a bullet for each person's name, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, something like that. And then we're going to have 5 gold and metallic ones, meaning if you order the board off Boonies, you will randomly receive one of the metallic gold foil. We think with 70 boards of each, we are going to just sell them all out instantly because we sell way more boards than as it is. And then that being the case, we are going to have a rotation of new graphics and designs coming out every month, and they're all going to have limited edition versions. What is this?
Yeah, we got the questions now.
We do have the questions being pulled up. Let me move.
These are from-
you can't do that. That doesn't work.
These are from Discord members throughout the week. It's similar to the call-in submissions, but they submitted written questions.
I would like to get the ones specifically for Auron. Are these just in general, or
These are with Auron in mind. They should be, but they might just be general questions. People ask whatever.
All right, let's do this with Plumber Dave. He says, where on the threat to Western civilization meter would you place the ideology of technocrats?
I think it's pretty huge, not just to Western civilization, but to all of us. Right now, vast managerial bureaucracies are pretty much the building block of most of civilization. And that means that technocratic decisions are removing most of our human agency from the governance that we think we're. A lot of our political divide is actually us arguing over like the results of our technology and not understanding that is what caused our problems and not necessarily individual ideological assumptions. And so the problem is that the more that we don't recognize that those structures are taking over our decision-making process, the worse things get, and we just end up kind of pointing at each other rather than recognizing a core issue of the problem. So I think technocracy is one of the greatest problems facing us today.
Agreed.
Right on. Sleepy Wizzo says, if ICE tries to arrest someone in the courthouse and the judge orders the bailiff to intervene, can an accompanying FBI agent arrest the bailiff for interfering with federal law enforcement? Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. You could just do things. The question is, who has the willpower to actually do these things?
Well, the precedent's been set with the judge in Minnesota. What was the judge where he helped sneak the illegal immigrant?
She helped the lady, and then she did.
So she was charged. So there's precedent in holding people accountable that are aiding the evasion of ICE and these federal officers.
Well, the greater question with the bailiff would be obviously he's under orders, right? And so it's a little different thing when the judge makes that decision. So you'd hope that ultimately the bailiff and the FBI agent wouldn't come to blows, but that is literally when you get Civil War stuff, right? Like when you have 2 armed agents of the state obeying different factions of the state, I think that's when you can truly say that you are well and deep into any given civil war. We've talked before about how, if you had a civil war, we'd go back to other times. But I think once you start seeing different agents of the state obeying different entities inside the state and fighting each other like with real force, that's an undeniable situation.
would the bailiff have jurisdiction outside the courtroom? Because if you watch, Elad does a lot of these videos where the ICE agents are waiting outside the courtroom. They're in the hallway of the courthouse, but they're not in the courtroom. So my question is, does the bailiff have any power once he steps out of that courtroom? Or is he just there in that actual room? That would be my question. And I would imagine ICE was waiting in the hallway for a reason, because that's when they're allowed to take these people into custody. But I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Well, I imagine that's right, but it's going to depend on, again, like the jurisdiction of whatever organization was providing the bailiff. Usually bailiffs are part of a sheriff's department or part of a police department somewhere else. They're not usually just officers of the court. So it would kind of depend. But I am also not a lawyer, so I don't know the exact.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So they could still be law enforcement in a different capacity outside that courtroom.
Right. If you're a police officer and you're like you're working for a city, once you move outside that municipality, you are no longer in that jurisdiction. You might still be a law enforcement officer. I've seen law enforcement officers detain people, but even if they're not in that jurisdiction, but they cannot ultimately make the arrest. They don't have the ability to do that because they are not inside the jurisdiction where they have authority.
Yeah. You'll see that with fire departments and even the local police departments out around here, because there's a river that separates the different states in the area we're in. And a lot of times if you live right on that border, you cross the river, it's not a magic like, hey, I'm in the safe zone, you can't touch me. No, the departments, the fire departments, the police departments, they work together and they're like, no, we have jurisdiction in their county, they have it in ours. Right. We work together. So.
Right on. We have a lot of questions. I don't know if we have time to get to every single one, but we'll read some more. Let's go. St. Saturn says, for Tim and Co., the Trump administration is apparently going to cut student loans. Why? This was deemed unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. So why is the administration playing with this? I heard that was just for people who join the federal government, who join like ICE and stuff.
I thought it was just for the income prepayment plan stuff too. I think he was bringing that back.
Yeah, I don't know. I am unaware.
I mean, the Republicans should just be seizing the university endowments and then forgiving student loans with that money. That's the way to do it. It's a winning issue. It wins with the students. You're not raiding the pockets of plumbers and other people to pay off, entitled people, and you're making the people who actually stole the money, the universities, pay the cost. It's a win across the board. The fact that the Republicans aren't embracing it is foolish.
It's a great solution.
Here's a fun one. Dr. Pants asks, is Israel's complaint about Hamas valid if Israel previously funded them?
Ooh.
I feel like we probably have NGOs that funded cartels. Is it still our problem? I'd say yes.
So it depends on what their complaint is. If the complaint is Hamas or terrorists, if like some dude came to my house and said, I'm going to mow your lawn, and I was like, sounds good. And it's like, tell me what you're going to do. And he's like, well, I'm going to mow the lawn. I'm going to pick it up and throw it away. And I promise that's what I'll do. And I say, okay, here's $50. And then he goes, awesome. Comes back with a bunch of bags of garbage and trash because he went to a McDonald's and bought a bunch of nasty food, starts chucking it all over the place. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing, man? You're making a mess. And then someone goes, yeah, well, you paid him. So you have no complaint. I'd be like, dude, I didn't pay him to do this.
Yeah. And we were joking earlier about like regime change, how we'll pay these people to get a desired outcome. It usually doesn't happen. It doesn't happen the way we want it to. So I think it was kind of like a lesson after the Cold War where a lot of these powers in the world were like, let's try regime change out. Let's throw money at this problem. And we're finding out now in 2025, it's not a good idea. It doesn't really work.
Well, Israel created a situation where the people who live alongside them are never going to be okay with them being there. That's just never going to happen. You're not going to do a peace deal. No one's going to talk it through and have a negotiation and be, at the end of the day, it's okay if you're living in the house my grandparents used to live in and you took a gunpoint. Like, that's never going to happen. You can say Israel is right or wrong and its establishment, everything else. That's immaterial. At this point, it is a sovereign nation. It has control over what it's going to do. And so it's going to deploy its military forces against people who ultimately are trying to kill them or stop them or whatever. Again, we can go through all the ideological justifications, but at the end of the day, this is just a reality. When you have two incompatible populations living in the same place, one of them is going to displace the other. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
And it's a war. I look at it, I'm like, it's a war like any other war. If your argument is we shouldn't be involved, I'll say just like every other war. I agree, but it's crazy to me how people take moral stances with foreign governments like this. Like I got nothing to do with it, bro. Yeah, you want to argue China, Burma, Tibet? I don't know. Like, sure, I guess.
It's mostly just Israel, though. I mean, we don't really hear these questions about China.
And like, why not Taiwan?
It's a good. Good
Well,
parallel.
I guess Taiwan's not being occupied yet.
Not yet.
Yet.
Let's go grab some more. Dusty says, a question for the panel. Back before Trump was in office and before he was elected, he was talking about the possibility of releasing the Epstein files. However, around that time, Google searches for suicide spiked in the D.C. area. Tim had led one of the episodes talking about it. How much of a possibility the people involved may commit suicide out of fear of the release has affected why Trump has not yet released the Epstein files. I think the suicide was related to the closing of USAID. So I don't think it was related to Epstein. This was around the time that they shuttered all these offices, everyone got fired, and then you saw a spike in suicide searches.
You saw that after COVID when people lost their jobs, and after J6 when people lost their jobs, you saw a similar thing. And I think the common theme is you take someone's livelihood away, they get very mental illness spikes, right? So, and that's what this USAID stuff was. I mean, it was good to shut it down, but a lot of people you just cut off their livelihood.
Yeah, I was reading about how the a lot of the infrastructure behind the suicide hotline and those types of organizations really like bolstered during the financial crash because they just like mental health crises shot through the roof.
Are these like Google searches on how to get help and to deal with suicide, or like how to commit suicide?
I think it's just keyword like suicide being in the search.
Okay, so it's
like,
not
so people
one way
just
or
searching
another.
suicide,
Okay.
having that in there.
That's a good point. That's a good question because
Yeah.
like libs of TikTok could report one instance of it, then everyone starts Googling this, like, oh, what is going on?
Yeah, I was just wondering what the actual
The Suicide Squad movie comes out and everyone's like, what kind of news event could have caused this?
Yeah.
We got a chat from Olivia. Hey, Tim, two of the Discord members got married on Wednesday. Ooh. Michael and Kat met here, and after knowing each other for 2 years, are married. Kat was also my bridesmaid. The Discord really is incredible and life-changing for a lot of us. Incredible!
Congrats, guys. Yeah, for real.
Very nice.
Today's show was a combination of factors of how we were like, with everything we'd been bringing up about extended work days, threats of security, live streaming, we were like, well, the one thing we can try and do is maybe just on a Friday because the news usually dies around the afternoon, and the stories we have are usually from earlier as it is. I was like, let's pre-record it, but then we can do we'll do a backstage members only thing. So we're creating more Discord engagement, more communal engagement, a special privy. Like we have 100 people, 109 people watching. It's not like a big, super like open thing. And bring all these things together because we're actively trying to figure out how to mitigate security issues, maximize efficiency, and maximize community engagement. So there you go. Let's see. Sometimes Discord doesn't show your name. Doc Bone says, Timcast has been a member since the beginning and a regular viewer since JRE. So glad I became a supporter of what you're doing for the culture and our nation. Well, I appreciate you guys as the Discord members. It's not possible without you. And I will stress this. If there's no Discord, there's no Timcast IRL. It's a fact. The Discord members are who are basically providing the necessary funding so that we can have this show exist. This is why so many shows on TV get canceled because they don't have the like a membership that subscribes. They usually have advertisers. Advertisers alone would not sustain Timcast IRL. So really great. Appreciate everybody who's watching. And that's why we want to do stuff like this. Looking through the live Discord, we got a couple more minutes left and we're just going to grab your live questions. Double J says, like that dude that skated down the building for Red Bull. That was great. That was it Santos? Are you sure that's his name? Yeah. I thought it was De Silva. No, Santos. George Santos?
George,
Santos,
you didn't tell us that last night.
Man.
It's a man of many talents.
Yeah.
Gotta get him on the congressional skate team. Well,
Yeah.
Oh well, he's
yeah.
be
All
tough
right.
now.
Mentor. He could be the coach.
Yeah, he could give some pep talks. Maybe that'd be nice.
At some point, they don't let you get within 500 feet.
Was it?
I'm trying to look it up right now.
Well, I'll read this. What is the crew from Draco? What does the crew think of legislating AI? My thought is that it needs to be done now. I think they need to make it illegal to post AI material without a visible watermark and embedded watermark. It should be severe, is that what you mean? For OP and minor for reposting.
It was Sandro
Diaz. There you go.
Everybody was wrong.
I don't know
Who is
how
De
we're
Silva?
gonna-
He's a UFC guy.
De Silva, yeah, he's the
Like, who am I
Brazilian.
thinking of?
He throws
I knew it was a Brazilian guy and I mixed them up. I agree with the AI thing. I don't know if the watermark thing will work, and you're going to get First Amendment arguments that we will lose because we are too literalist as a society, and we go, but free speech, so everyone's allowed to do whatever they want, and then society crumbles.
I don't know how we're going to legislate it effectively. We can try to put guardrails on it, but I think it was Phil has a really good point that this is like trying to legislate the car when it was displacing the horse and buggy, right? Like this technology is here. People are embracing it overnight. ChatGPT has trumped Google as the top, or AI, I should say, is now being used as a search engine way more than Google. And I thought Google was untouchable. I was like, there's never going to be anything that could take that beast down. And
I mean, if we weren't able to stop gain of function research, we're definitely not going to be able to stop AI. Nick Land is a philosopher that I've done a lot of work on. He's suddenly become somewhat famous because Tucker Carlson had a guy on to call him a Satanist. But he has done quite a bit of work on artificial intelligence and whether or not we could or should contain it at all. So if people are interested in reading thought on that, it's not an easy read, but I think it is probably the most intelligent conversation we're having about artificial intelligence right now.
I think the bigger focus should not be like how to like legislate artificial intelligence, but to make sure it truly benefits the general public.
Oh, no, that won't happen at all.
I mean, that's how to
guardrails on it.
So
really.
here's what artificial intelligence is going to do. It's going to train. It's people think about artificial intelligence as if the worry is that it will achieve this super intelligence and it'll take over Skynet style. And that I'm not discounting that possibility. The real problem is that it's going to teach everyone to think like robots.
Sure.
Like I was a public school teacher until just a few years ago. I can already tell you that kids basically know nothing because of Google. They can't imagine getting information anywhere else. They can't imagine reasoning through something. Google just tells them what to believe. And if you don't think that artificial intelligence is just going to put us on like a bullet train to wherever that's going, then you're crazy.
My point was largely for like economical reasons. So like call centers, I mean, they're in India anyway, but let's say there was American call centers or customer service help desk stuff, which will get replaced by AI. As we free up that money that were jobs, as it replaces jobs, I just want to make sure the public sees that benefit. When Tesla Optimus rolls out and you have the AI powered robots doing your grocery shopping and they're working with another robot that's checking out, like those jobs are going to disappear and more jobs will be created. But that's, I think, the focus is like make sure AI benefits the middle class.
But it'll do exactly the opposite, because ultimately the whole point of this stuff is it's going to phase out all of these jobs. And this is why people will talk about UBI or these other things to supplement it. But the problem is human beings were designed to work. Like, actually, you can't just give people stuff and make them happy. You need purpose, you need toil, you need resistance. And like without that stuff, you're destroying the human being. So in a very important way, automating all of these functions that we currently find in some way distressing will actually make us less human and will actually destroy our happiness.
I am in favor of all of this. And my final thoughts before we wrap up for the show. I will also stress I'm very excited to have a nice, beautiful sunset dinner with my wife and baby.
Nice.
And that's what we're doing. That's why one of the reasons we're pre-recording. It's going to be fun. But I'm going to say this. Conservatives, rejoice. When we industrialized, conservatives kept working out. They understood that humans need to exercise and that work is a requirement for the human body. I believe that as we enter the AI, the industrialization of information, conservatives will still continue to work the mind, recognizing a healthy mind and body is a requirement. And I believe that their moral traditions and faith will keep them grounded and away from the temptations of masturbatory products like Neuralink, read-write technology, weird porn stuff. No one will be immune. No one will be perfect. But the liberals, they're already getting fat. Once we took away the requirement to do hard labor, you got a bunch of people who are like, I'm not going to do hard labor anymore. Now they're all sickly and dying. You add AI to the mix, they're going to become ignorant, stupid, and weak. But conservatives, I believe, will largely maintain the health requirements. That's why Maha is so popular. So the future maybe going to be like the time traveler. You're going to have the super intelligent. There's going to be a bunch of like, what's the right way? A bunch of just really strong, ripped dudes who are really smart with big pulsing brains, and then a bunch of fat, jiggly things that are real dumb, like
Wall-E.
that's that. Like, I suppose. But my friends, thanks for hanging out. We're gonna wrap up there. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Now we may continue this trend into next Friday. We'll see how this show does. We'll see community response, those in the Discord. I recommend you go to timcast.com, click join us, get in the Discord, because unity is our strength. And as we've already seen and you already heard, some people get married, making real unity. But when you have a community, when you have shared values, that is extremely hard to destroy, and that's why they want to divide and conquer. Diversity may be their strength, but unity is ours. Join us at timcast.com. And get the backstage access. We'll try it again next week. We'll see how things go. I really do appreciate all of you watching. Auron, do you want to shout anything out?
Like I said, just the show on Blaze TV, on all your favorite podcast networks, Auron MacIntyre Show.
Right on.
You can follow me on X at Frank_TrueBlue. And go check out the Green Room on Rumble. Become a Rumble Premium member. Check it out.
You guys can follow me at Kellen PDL. I'm mostly active on X. If you have any questions about Timcast related things, shoot them my way. And you'll occasionally see updates from me on there and other breaking news from time to time. But yeah, thanks guys.
X and Instagram at Real Tate Brown. Come hang out. We'll see you guys next week.
We will see you all. We've got I got some segments coming up in the weekend. We've got clips, of course, throughout the weekend. And Tate's actually gonna be doing some weekend interviews soon.
It's true. Yeah, it's coming. Get ready for that. And also, yeah, shoot me a message next. Who do you want to see? Who do you want to see me interview? It's going to be we'll crowdsource, see who you guys want to see. So
indeed.
There we go.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody, and we'll see y'all next time.